So, distinguished delegates, could you please be seated in your national sheet? The fourth meeting of the 57th session of the Commission on Population and Development is called to order. And I now invite the Commission to continue its general discussion under Agenda Item 3, entitled General Debate, and its sub-items A and B. Before giving the floor to the first speaker, I would like to remind delegations to kindly respect the agreed time limits of 5 minutes for member states speaking in the national capacity. I thank you for your understanding and cooperation. Now, I give the floor to Her Excellency Princess Kasune, Minister for Central Province of Zambia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson, to you and your team. And I also just want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Zambian delegation to appreciate the 82 countries that gave us the opportunity to deliver the joint statement on the 30-year anniversary of the International Conference on Population and Development. Chairperson, on behalf of the Zambian delegation, under the able leadership of His Excellency, President Hakainde Hichilema, and other members of the Bureau, we want to congratulate you on the success of the 57th session of the United Nations Commission on Population and Development. Zambia welcomes the holding of this session, which aims at assessing the status of implementation of the Program of Action of the International Conference on Population and Development and its contribution to the follow-up and review of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development during the decade of action and delivery for sustainable development. Chairperson, Zambia has one of the fast-growing population in the world at the rate of 3.5% per annum. This has resulted in half of the population being children below the age of 15. In this regard, Zambia has prioritized harnessing its demographic dividends by implementing socio-economic reforms, policies needed to achieve inclusive development. To this effect, Zambia has increased funding in the health sector, education sector, and skills development, expanded social protection programs, and introduced reforms to stimulate economic growth. Between 2022 and 2023, the Zambian government, to its recommendation, has employed over 30,000 teachers and over 15,000 health workers. This is historic and a game changer for our country, Zambia. Just to expand on that point, through the President of the Republic of Zambia, President Hakainde Hichilema, and his hallmark program or initiative, the Community Development Fund, which was once at $100,000 per annum, was now increased to $1.2 million. And this has gone on to ensure that there are maternity annex built in every constituency in all corners of Zambia, regardless of political affiliation. In addition, the government has also mandated that all constituencies, the smallest units in our distribution of development, have ambulances. Zambia has also made progress, Chair, through promoting dignity and equal implementation policies such as free education. As we aid earlier on to many of our speakers, that without education, we'll forever leave our girls behind. And this is not all. As if that is not all, through the same CDF, those young people who are out of school can access funds which they can now go for skills trainings, those who are not in school. And those who want to go to boarding schools, through you, Chair, they also are being sponsored through this same Community Development Fund. Furthermore, for the girls who ended up pregnant, there is a re-entry policy that allows them to go back to school and further their education so that they can achieve their full potential and contribute to the development of the country. In addition, through you, Chair, to safeguard the population of Zambia, human rights have been put at the center of this New Dawn government, and new laws such as the Child Code Act Bill, which criminalize child marriage, has been enacted. The Zambian government has furthermore rolled out the life skill and health education curriculum, enabling young people to live productive lives and to be well equipped when it comes to making their own decision as it relates to sexuality and health, reproductive. Zambia has also made strides in integrating population dynamics in development planning processes, hereby focusing the future needs to the population. Data collection and coordination have also been improved as we continue to undertake on our administrative information system to improve our administrative information system to enhance availability and indeed accuracy and quality in real time. Lastly, Chairperson, and to all the delegates that are here, Zambia would like to stress the importance of the international and national partnerships in addressing interconnected challenges with adequate resources to fulfill the country's commitment to implement the programs of action for ICPD. It is here why Zambia continue its commitment, and as already alluded to by many of our speakers here, Zambia successfully held the 10-year continental review of the Addis Ababa Declaration on Population and Development. As I conclude on a personal note, not only do I sit here as a member of parliament, but also as a chairperson for all political parties who are actually championing the issues of population and development as ZAPAD, and also to ensure that our women all participate in politics, and I sit as the chairperson for the Zambian Women Parliamentarian Focus for All Women, regardless of their political participation. Development and population has to be done now. Thank you very much.
I thank the Minister for Central Province of Zambia, and now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Alexei Buzu, Minister of Labor and Social Protection of the Republic of Moldova. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it was with great privilege and gratitude that I stand before you today on behalf of the Government of the Republic of Moldova to share our journey and commitment towards achieving fair and more inclusive social protection, reconciliation of work and life and balance and family life, gender equality, mainstreaming aging as a part of our demographic resilience strategy, firmly grounded on data and human rights principles. Central to our policy has been the commitment to empower families, especially women, to make choices that enhance the quality of life while contributing to the economic and social fabric of our nation. Our comprehensive policies, underpinned by evidence-based data derived from the largest gender and generation survey conducted in our country, have laid a sturdy foundation for promoting gender equality and addressing the multifaceted challenges faced by families. On April 8th, the National Housing and Population Census started in the Republic of Moldova and will last until July. The collected data will help us design more targeted policies aimed at addressing structural problems in my country. One of the critical challenges we have identified is the significant number of women who remain inactive in the workforce due to family obligations. To address this issue, we have embarked on a multifaceted approach, including the development of a comprehensive program aimed at expanding choices for families with children, facilitating conducive environment for balancing work and family life, and promoting parental engagement. By 2030, we aim to establish 4,500 alternative individual care services for children and 900 alternative family-type childcare services, thereby enabling parents, particularly women and mothers, to pursue their professional aspiration without compromising their caregiving responsibilities. Moreover, our legislative reforms have ushered a new era of flexibility for working parents with provisions encouraging fathers to actively participate in childcare through paternity leave and other supportive measures. Unfortunately, the CPD session is taking place at a time when the number of wars, conflict, disputes, and other hotspots is continuously growing. The impact of Russia's ruthless war of aggression against Ukraine is also felt in Moldova. My country has been showing its solidarity with Ukraine from day one, sheltering thousands of refugees, mostly women and children, providing humanitarian aid, helping with the transit of people and goods. With the support of our partners, we continue to host more than 118,000 Ukrainians seeking refugees in our country. A year ago, we launched the temporary protection mechanism, which covers today 44,000 Ukrainians, providing access to various services and paving the way towards social inclusion. The Republic of Moldova remains firmly committed to realize the ICPD goals and the Beijing Platform for Action. These documents serving as guidelines to address the demographic and socioeconomic challenges and build demographically resilient and prosperous society. As we navigate the complexity of the 21st century, the Republic of Moldova remains steadfast in commitment to fostering a society where every individual, regardless of age, gender, or background, can realize their full potential and contribute meaningfully to the collective prosperity. In conclusion, I extend our sincere gratitude to the UN Commission on Population and Development for providing this platform to share our experiences and aspirations. Let us continue our collective journey towards building a world where no one is left behind and every person can thrive in dignity and equality. Thank you.
I thank the Minister of Labor and Social Protection of the Republic of Moldova. Now, I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Paul Tasson, Minister Delegates to the Minister of the Economy in charge of planning of Cameroon. You have the floor.
I thank you, Chair, for the invitation to speak. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of His Excellency Paul Biya, President of Cameroon, I bring you warm greetings from the people of Cameroon. Chair, permit me to extend our sincere congratulations to you for your election to preside the 57th session of the CPD. This session of the CPD is very timely to measure progress, identify major challenges, and redesign perspectives regarding the future implementation of the ICPD. In this regard, in July 2020, Cameroon carried out an evaluation of the implementation of the ICPD. Remarkable successes were revealed, particularly in the areas of dignity and equality, health, education, and vocational training. Regarding dignity and equality, on the overall, gender parity has improved, and remarkably so at the institutional level. Cameroon adopted a national gender policy in 2014. The fight against gender-based violence and the elimination of female genital mutilation has been reinforced. The drafting of a new family code is in progress. International and regional instruments promoting women's rights have been ratified. Concerning healthcare, significant progress has been recorded in reducing maternal and infant mortality. The training and deployment of qualified human resources has contributed to substantially improve mother and child care. We succeeded to reduce infant mortality by 48% from 2011 to 2020. The political will is at the highest level as manifested by the entry into force of a universal health coverage scheme. Cameroon attaches particular interest in improving governance and the management of data and statistics. With 3 bodies in charge of collecting, processing, and analyzing population data, we are currently preparing the 4th General Population and Housing Census. In the area of education and training, the government has a vision of promoting an educational system which ensures that every young graduate is sociologically integrated, multilingual, and competent in any area of the economy. The strategic objectives pursued consist of guaranteeing access to primary education for all children of school-going age, achieving a 100% completion rate at primary school level, reducing regional disparities in terms of school infrastructure and staffing, and significantly increasing the share of professional and technical training at the higher level. Girl-boy parity has been achieved at the primary level and has significantly increased at the secondary level. Primary education is compulsory and free since year 2000. Investments in education have witnessed a major increase. Incentives for vulnerable people, such as migrants, internally displaced persons, refugees, indigenous populations, and the disabled are available with a view to leave no one behind. The government has also set up a range of professional training centers throughout the national territory, targeting youths and women. Thousands of youth organizations have been empowered to enable them fully participate in decision-making spheres, both at the national and international levels, notably through the Cameroon National Youth Council. Chair, these are just a few quintessential elements of the results attained. Cameroon intends to maintain this momentum and to address the ongoing challenges, which are notably sociocultural, institutional and representation of women and youths, impact of climate change, socioeconomic crisis, financing shortfalls, security crisis, and data collection and management. Cameroon expresses the hope that the commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the Cairo Conference will be an opportunity to address with determination the concern of inequalities between countries, between the rich and poor, between men and women, and more recently, the digital divide. My delegation pleads that these phenomena, which remain morally unacceptable, should constitute the top priorities of our international cooperation policy for the implementation of the Cairo Program of Action to the benefit of our collective humanity. Indeed, Chair, only a tiny fraction of humanity enjoys the major benefits of the unprecedented levels of economic and technological advancement. To conclude, as far as Cameroon is concerned, this is the commitment of President Paul Biya, articulated within the framework of our 2035 long-term vision, which reconciles the social, economic, and environmental dimensions of sustainable development. Merci beaucoup pour votre bien aimable attention.
I thank the Minister Delegate to the Minister of the Economy in charge of planning of Cameroon. I now give the floor to to Her Excellency Carla do Rosario Fernandez Lovela, Deputy Minister of Economy and Finance of Mozambique. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chairperson of the 57th session of the Commission on Population and Development, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Mozambique is proudly honored to address this assembly on the occasion of the 57th session of the CPD. We commend you, Mr. Chair, for the brilliant manner in which you are steering over our work. You can count on our support to success of your chairmanship. Excellencies, this session is taking place in a very important moment for the advancement of population and development agenda, as this year marks the 10th anniversary of the International Conference on Population and Development. These milestones offer a distinct momentum to take stock of a progress achieved so far, address the emerging challenge, recommit ourselves to the noble objective of the ICPD, and more importantly, to renew of our collective determination to accelerate the implementation of the program of action. Ladies and gentlemen, the ICPD program of action outlined the path towards valuing the population factor as a central element of the development process. In this post-Cairo period, the human person began to be considered not only as the creator of wealth, but also as the main beneficiary from it. 30 years have elapsed, but the people-centered development approach agreed in Cairo continues to be valid and timely. The adoption of declaration on the occasion of the 10th anniversary of the ICPD by consensus confirms its vitality. With that in mind, Mozambique managed to achieve promising results in the implementation of the ICPD program of action, resulting in the improvement of the living standards of its population, especially in the empowerment of women, girls, and young people in general. Our well-being and development indicators have shown noteworthy progress over the last 10 years. As example, maternal mortality has declined from 500 deaths in 2007 to 427 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2017. Infants' mortality has also declined from 135 in 1997 deaths to 39 deaths in 2022 per 1,000 live births. Life expectancy increased from 51 years in 2007 to 54 years in 2017, and for women it increased from 53 to 57 years. Illiteracy rates declined from 51% in 2007 to 39% in 2017, with significant impact on women. Excellencies, the Mozambique population is currently estimated at 32.4 million inhabitants, of which 52% are women. Of this total, just over half are under the age of 17, which represents the potential for development of our country. Despite progress in promoting the well-being of the population, particularly women and girls, we still face challenges that requires us to reinforce actions that result in expanding access for women and men to education, training, and health, service, water, and productive resources. In addition, gender-based violence is a matter of concern for Mozambique, since 45% of women of our country have suffered from some type of violence, most of the time perpetrated by family members or acquaintances. In the same vein, the fight against premature unions continues to be our priority, bearing in mind that 41% of girls marry or live in marital union before the age of 18 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we recognize the emerging challenge that exists, opportunities for accelerating focus on population dynamics with a view to galvanizing efforts to achieve sustainable development. As a matter of fact, the ICPD goals are critical to meet the SDGs and the Africa Agenda 2063. Those are complementary and mutually reinforcing agendas toward the much-needed people-centered development. We also recognize that strengthening data and statistical systems that guide decision-making on the ICPD, SDG, financing and investments remain crucial. Distinguished delegates, Madam Chair, as I conclude, I would like to reiterate that Mozambique stands united with the world to promote the full, effective, and accelerated implementation of the ICPD program of action. Uphold the ICPD program of action is not an option. Rather, it is a collective imperative to transform the challenge global population landscape in the driving force for inclusive and sustainable development, leaving no one behind. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your attention and all.
I thank the Deputy Minister of Economy and Finance of Mozambique, and I now give the floor to Her Excellency Mali Bashimova, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkmenistan. You have the floor.
Уважаемый господин председатель, Ваше Превосходительство, дамы и господа. От имени делегации Туркменистана позвольте поздравить вас с началом 57-й сессии Комиссии по народонаселению и развитию и пожелать плодотворной работы. Демонстрируя приверженность неукоснительному выполнению программы действий Международной конференции по народонаселению и развитию, наша страна продолжает следовать курсам социально ориентированной политики с особым акцентом на защиту уязвимых слоев населения. В качестве приоритетной задачи национальное правительство ставит интересы материнского и репродуктивного здоровья. В этих целях в 2021 году утверждена пятилетняя национальная стратегия «Здоровая мать, здоровый ребенок, здоровое будущее», предусматривающая дальнейшие практические меры по охране здоровья матери и ребенка на национальном уровне. В рамках этой работы во всех регионах страны ведется в эксплуатацию современные, хорошо оснащенные медицинские центры по оказанию комплексной помощи женщинам и детям. Одновременно большое внимание на государственном уровне уделяется социально-экономической адаптации детей с ограниченными возможностями здоровья. Возможность получения образования в стране обеспечивается всем детям, независимо от вида и степени выраженности имеющихся нарушений. В частности, для детей с ограниченными возможностями созданы и действуют 17 учреждений, в которых обучается около 5000 учащихся. При этом основополагающим подходом такой работы совместно с международными организациями является принцип «не оставить никого позади». Наше сотрудничество с ЮНЕФПА, ПРООН и ЮНИСЕФ осуществляется в рамках совместных проектов, направленных на обеспечение всеобщего доступа к качественным медицинским услугам, особенно в сфере охраны материнства и детства, посредством механизмов софинансирования. Необходимо отметить, что за 30 лет сотрудничества с Фондом по народонаселению мы добились успеха в таких важных направлениях, как улучшение материнского и репродуктивного здоровья, гендерного равенства, повышение потенциала молодых людей, улучшение качества и доступности данных о населении. В результате нашей совместной работы коэффициент материнской смертности снизился 1,7 в 2022 году. Снизилась неудовлетворенная потребность в планировании семьи до уровня 9,7. Показатель охвата родов квалифицированным медицинским персоналом составил 99,9%. Функционирует также 95 кабинетов репродуктивного здоровья. Это не сухие цифры. За ним стоит конкретная практическая работа и колоссальные усилия. Особо хочу отметить работу, созданную по инициативе лидера нации и успешно функционирующего с 2021 года благотворительного фонда по оказанию помощи нуждающимся в опеке детям. Деятельность фонда многогранна и охватывает самые разные аспекты от финансирования сложных медицинских операций и приобретения высокотехнологичного оборудования для больниц и материальной помощи интернатам и детским домам. За 3 года своего существования фонд оказал поддержку более 300 детям и выступил инициатором и участником целого ряда международных гуманитарных акций. Уважаемые участники, для Туркменистана сотрудничество с ООН и его структурами – это долговременное стратегическое партнерство, и мы намерены и далее активно работать по улучшению и реализации совместных целей и задач. Хочу в этой связи поблагодарить наших коллег из ООН за эффективную совместную работу. Благодарю за внимание.
I thank the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkmenistan. I now give the floor to Her Excellency Elizabeth Taylor Jay, Vice Minister of Multilateral Affairs of Colombia. You have the floor.
Gracias, presidente. Cuando nos reunimos en el Cairo hace 30 años y adoptamos el programa de acción de la Conferencia Internacional sobre la Población y el Desarrollo, sentamos sin saberlo una de las bases de la que sería nuestra piedra angular, la Agenda 2030 para el Desarrollo Sostenible. En ese momento reimaginamos la forma de avanzar colectivamente y reflejamos una realidad, que las personas son el centro del desarrollo y que debe tener un enfoque interconectado, interdependiente, indivisible y holístico. Desde entonces y conjuntamente hemos avanzado en la identificación de la importancia demográfica de los jóvenes y la protección de sus necesidades, la necesidad de la educación sexual integral, los retos que supone el envejecimiento de la población, el fortalecimiento de los sistemas de salud, la promoción, protección y goce efectivo de los derechos de grupos poblacionales clave, tales como los pueblos indígenas, afrodescendientes, campesinas y las personas con discapacidad. Hemos dado más pasos en la dirección correcta. En América Latina y el Caribe, hace 10 años fuimos más allá al aprobar el Consenso de Montevideo, una expresión regional ambiciosa, progresista e integral para el seguimiento del Programa de Acción del Cairo. Sin embargo, los retos exigen otro nivel de acción. Hacemos un llamado a ser disruptivos, romper paradigmas y modificar las concepciones históricas sobre el desarrollo para transitar hacia la protección de la vida, los derechos humanos anclados en la paz, la justicia social y la justicia ambiental. Los límites nacionales pierden relevancia cuando la responsabilidad es colectiva. Necesitamos una revolución de conciencia, un compromiso renovado con los ideales del Cairo y la valentía de cuestionar lo establecido. Señor Presidente, como lo hemos hecho desde nuestra parte, el Plan Nacional de Desarrollo colombiano, con un enfoque progresista e intersectorial, insistimos en que es necesario un nuevo contrato social para nuestros sistemas financieros, sociales, económicos y políticos. Las personas y su dignidad deben ser el centro de este. Por eso en Colombia creamos el Ministerio de la Igualdad y Equidad, convencidos del llamado que tenemos a garantizar los derechos humanos en el camino hacia la paz total y superar las brechas históricas en nuestra sociedad. Además, hemos creado el Sistema Nacional de Cuidados. Estamos convencidos de poner este tema en el centro de nuestros esfuerzos. No solo es una deuda histórica, sino una apuesta al futuro del desarrollo de nuestro país. En esa misma línea, es para mí un honor anunciar que Colombia por primera vez asumirá la presidencia de la mesa directiva de la Conferencia Regional de Población y Desarrollo de América Latina y el Caribe para el periodo 2024-2026. La emblemática ciudad de Cartagena será la sede de la conferencia en la que esperamos consolidar la ambición característica de nuestra región frente a esta agenda y dar un espacio privilegiado a la discusión alrededor de los derechos de las personas con discapacidad. Señor Presidente, sin embargo, todo lo que imaginamos no será posible si no disponemos de datos de alta calidad, oportunos, relevantes, diferenciados y confiables que evidencien dónde y con quiénes estamos. Llenaremos con el ejemplo, lideraremos con el ejemplo. Contamos con cuentas nacionales oficiales que nos permiten medir el impacto que el crecimiento de la población y el cambio en la estructura de edad impactan elementos como el crecimiento económico y la igualdad de género. Al reafirmar el plan de acción de la CPD y las conferencias regionales, estamos reafirmando nuestros compromisos con asegurar que todas las personas gocen de salud y derechos sexuales y reproductivos en todas sus diversidades. Volvamos por un segundo hace 30 años. ¿Estamos realmente en el futuro que imaginamos? ¿Conseguimos responder a las preguntas que nos planteamos? ¿Nuestras acciones hoy responden a la altura de las expectativas que teníamos en ese momento? Que en 6 años, cuando se haya cumplido el periodo de la Agenda 2030 y estemos negociando un nuevo marco, No empecemos de cero. Desde ya, como lo hicimos hace 30 años, debemos mirar hacia adelante con valentía para impulsar un futuro cada vez más justo y sostenible. No es solamente una cuestión de no dejar a nadie atrás, se trata de ir colectivamente hacia adelante. Muchas gracias, señor presidente.
Muchas gracias, Vice Minister of Multilateral Affairs of Colombia. And now I give the floor to His Excellency Yu Shuizhen, Vice Minister, National Health Commission of China. You have the floor.
好，谢谢主席。各位部长、各位代表、各位同事，大家下午好。首先，我谨代表中国代表团对主席和主席团各位成员的当选表示祝贺，对秘书处对本届会议所做出的出色准备表示衷心的感谢。中国代表团高度赞赏秘书长向本届会议递交的报告，这些报告对我们进一步落实国际人发与大会行动纲领，实现2030年可持续发展目标非常有指导意义。1994年召开的人口与发展大会，通过了行动纲领，将人口与发展紧密联系在一起，坚持以人为本，始终强调保护妇女和儿童，消除贫困，提升教育和健康水平，促进人与自然和谐。这些理念在后续的千年目标和可持续发展目标里边都得到升华和提升，为推动全球人口与发展提供了基本的遵循，并且取得了显著的成效。与1994年相比，当今世界人口与发展形势发生了巨大的变化，全球人口、公共卫生、计划生育、生殖健康等领域仍然面临诸多的挑战和问题。在推进实现行动纲领和千年发展目标过程中，有的指标不容乐观，有的地区令人担忧。我们需要对新的现象做出评估，也需要对新的期待做出回应，确保如期实现可持续发展目标。主席、各位阁下、女士们、先生们，在过去30年，中国负责任地履行诺言，践行行动纲领，采取契合行动纲领的工作理念和工作方法，走出了一条有中国特色人口发展的道路。人口受教育水平不断的提高，健康状况持续改善，人口红利支撑中国改革开放和经济发展，历史性的解决了绝对贫困问题，人民生活水平不断提高。中国在解决自身问题的同时，也为世界的人口和发展做出了贡献。当前，中国人口也呈现少子化、老龄化、区域人口增减分化的趋势，并且出现了人口负增长的现象。中国政府特别强调，要继续发扬光大国际人口与发展大会的精神，坚持以人民为中心的发展理念，根据新的人口发展形势，优化人口发展战略，不断完善生育支持政策体系，提高家庭发展能力，提高人民群众生活品质，不断满足人民群众对美好生活的期待，实现以高质量人口发展支撑中国式现代化的目标。我们有决心，也有信心抓住新的机遇，应对新的挑战。主席、各位阁下、女士们、先生们，行动纲领实施30年来，展现了非凡的和持久的生命力，为实现2030可持续发展目标奠定了坚实的基础。作为现在最大的发展中国家，中国始终是南南合作和三方合作的坚定支持者、积极参与者和重要贡献者。下一步，中国愿与各方一起继续深化合作交流， 共同探讨新形势下人口与发展的机遇和挑战，与各方携手共进，为实现行动纲领未尽事业和2030年可持续发展目标做出中国的贡献。谢谢主席，谢谢各位同事。
谢谢to the Vice Minister of National Health Commission of China. Now I would like to give the floor to Her Excellency Björk Sankjar, State Secretary in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Norway. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, young people, 3 weeks ago, 172 parliamentarians from 112 countries were gathered in Oslo, Norway. At the International Parliamentarians Conference, or IPSI, the group unanimously adopted the Oslo Statement of Commitment with a powerful pledge to work to secure sexual and reproductive health and rights for all. I can assure you it was a truly inspiring moment. And today I feel inspired again, being present in this room 30 years after the International Conference on Population and Development in Cairo in '94. And the ICPD agenda is particularly close to my heart, as I was there in 1994 as a youth delegate for the World Council of Churches. And at the NGO Forum in Cairo, I met women from different parts of the world who had suffered terrible abuse in the name of population control. Men also told stories of forced sterilization and other violations of their reproductive rights. As a young woman from Norway, these stories made a great impression on me, and I understood that sexual and reproductive health and rights is important in and of itself, but it is also essential as a component of human rights, of social justice, and sustainable development. Since the Cairo conference, Norway has been a strong supporter of the ICPD agenda. Protecting women's and girls' rights to decide over our own bodies is a key priority in our foreign and development policy. So, ladies and gentlemen, at the 25th anniversary of the ICPD in Nairobi 5 years ago, Norway made a pledge to invest $1.1 billion in sexual and reproductive health and rights internationally between the years 2020 and 2025. And I'm very pleased to report that we are well on our way to fulfill this pledge. So the focus of our support is access to safe abortion, comprehensive sexuality education, in addition to family planning and provision of contraceptives. And today, I'm pleased to announce that Norway will provide $8 million to UNFPA supplies in 2024 for their important work on delivering a choice of modern contraceptives into the hands of adolescents and women who need them the most. Distinguished delegates, despite progress, we are experiencing pushback against sexual and reproductive health and rights. It is paradoxical that many countries attack women's rights and SRHR to protect family values, while in fact access to sexual and reproductive health and rights enables individuals and families to thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned yesterday, Dr. Gro Harlem Brundtland, our Prime Minister at that time, also attended the ICPD in Cairo, and I would like to quote from her speech. And she said, "This conference is really about the future of democracy, how we widen and deepen its forces and scope. Unless we empower our people, educate them, care for their health, allow them to enter economic life on an equal basis and rich in opportunity, poverty will persist, ignorance will be pandemic, and people's needs will suffocate under their numbers. The items and issues of this conference are therefore not merely items and issues, but building blocks in our global democracy." And that ends the quote. And to wrap up, ladies and gentlemen, whether we work in government, civil society, whether we are young or old, in all our diversity, let's continue to use these building blocks of the global democracy for the best of our ability. The ICPD program of action is there to guide us and help us in our endeavors to keep promoting sexual and reproductive health and rights for all. I thank you.
I thank the State Secretary in the Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Norway. I now give the floor to Her Excellency Lisa Glaze Barcels, Under Secretary for Population Development of Philippines. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excellencies, the Philippines reaffirms its commitment to the full implementation of the ICPD Program of Action. This commitment is demonstrated by the Philippine chairship of the CPD57 in 2022 and our vice chairship of the 7th Asian and Pacific Population Conference in Thailand in 2023. We have laid out in our Philippine Population and Development Plan of Action for 2023 to 2028 the overall goal of optimizing demographic opportunities and addressing emerging population issues. This strategic plan is aligned with the ICPD Program of Action, CEDAW, the Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028, and our UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework. The Philippines is now undergoing a strategic demographic shift. While we remain one of the countries with the highest populations in the Asian Pacific, our population growth has declined from 2.3% in 1994 to 1.6% in 2020. This is driven by the progressive decline in total fertility rate, which was at 1.9 in 2022. This is impacting our country's age structure, marked by a declining young population and an increase in working age and older individuals. Through our Responsible Parenthood and Reproductive Health Act of 2012, we were able to expand access to universal and equitable comprehensive sexual and reproductive health services and information, including family planning services. We were able to enshrine the protection and fulfillment of the rights of women through our Magna Carta of Women enacted in 2009. The law prohibiting the practice of child marriage and the law increasing age of sexual consent from 12 to 16 years were enacted in 2021 and 2022 respectively. These laws contributed to our being continually placed in the top 20 of the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Index. Our commitment to women's empowerment is further reflected in our chairship of the 68th session of the Commission on the Status of Women in March this year. Anchored on our Department of Education's Matatag Agenda and Curriculum for Resilience, we have successfully decreased dropout rates due to teenage pregnancies through the establishment of teen centers and alternative delivery modes of learning, while simultaneously increasing school participation through the landmark expansion of our national school-based feeding program. These socioeconomic interventions effectively complement the intensified implementation of our WASH-enhanced comprehensive sexuality education program and our child and adolescent reproductive health campaign in schools towards resilient and future-ready youth. To address early issues on aging, the Philippine government has formulated the Philippine Plan of Action for Senior Citizens 2023 to 2028, which serves as the overall framework for creating an inclusive society that empowers older persons and allows them to live healthy and productive lives. Our National Commission on Senior Citizens ensures the active participation of older persons in nation building. For the protection of our international labor unemployable migrants, the Department of Migrant Workers manages all international migration labor processes. The strategies proposed in the ICD-POA are further concretized at a subnational level. A case in point, the city of Bago in the province of Negros Occidental, the birthplace of Rafael M. Salas, the first executive director of the UNFPA, has garnered awards in its implementation of programs that promote reproductive health rights among women and girls. We report that our Department of the Interior and Local Government has included awarding the Seal of Good Local Governance to cities and municipalities, the establishment of population offices with appointed or designated population officers, and the establishment of community-based or school-based teen centers. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, the Philippines has many challenges to address, but remain more than ever committed to the implementation of the ICD-POA and the realization of the SDG promise of leaving no one behind. Our efforts center on the quality of growth more than growth itself. We are driven and inspired by our collective ambitions. Thank you very much.
I thank the Undersecretary for Population Development of Philippines. I now give the floor to His Excellency Bonifacius Prasetya Ikhtialo, Deputy Minister on Population Management of Indonesia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, 30 years ago, the international community embarked on a transformative journey by adopting the ICPD program of action. Today, while acknowledging that global progress is evident, we must also be cautioned that challenges that remain. As challenges are becoming more complex ahead, we must do more. Reflecting on our journey, I would like to highlight 3 points. First, effective implementation of the program of action of the ICPD and the attainment of SDGs require strong policy framework. Strong policy framework will serve as a foundation for robust implementation of ICPD. In 2014, the Indonesian government established the Grand Design of Population Development. It is a comprehensive roadmap to mainstream population issues across all sectors of national development. Further ahead, we continue to mainstream and integrate population agenda in the future national medium-term and long-term development plans of Indonesia reaching 2045. Second, sustainable progress needs strong collaboration between government and all relevant stakeholders. Through concert and collective effort and pentahelix cooperation, Indonesia has witnessed remarkable progress. In 2019, through robust consultation and cooperation, the Indonesian government revised the marriage law, raising the legal marriage age of women from 16 to 19 years old, aligning it with the legal age of marriage for men. The coverage of national identity cards and birth certificates is close to 100%. And after 30 years of ICPD program of action implementation, the Indonesia total fertility rate has declined substantially from 3.0 to the current figure at 2.18 children per woman. Also, the maternal mortality rate also has shown a remarkable decline from 390 per 1,000 live birth in 1994 to 189 per 1,000 live birth in 2020. Third, localizing and mainstreaming the program of action at all levels are essential for its effective implementation. One of the examples by Indonesia is the Quality Family Village program to enhance population family planning and family development, including accelerating stunting reduction. Through the program, Indonesia had witnessed the decrease of stunting prevalence rate among population under 5 from 28% in 2021 to 21.6% in 2020. Localizing population agenda plays a vital role in enhancing the quality of life. It ensures that local aspiration and participation are taken into account and addressed coherently. Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia has experienced how the progress in population agenda must go beyond meeting numerical targets. Inclusivity, empowerment, and sustainability are principles to maintain progress and accelerate ICPD program of action and SDGs. Indonesia remains steadfast in its commitment to international cooperation and collaboration to accelerate the progress, population, and sustainable development agenda. Together, we can strengthen the international collaboration at advancing family planning and reproductive health with all member states. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the Deputy Minister on Population Management of Indonesia. I now give the floor His Excellency Tran Duy Dom, Deputy Minister of Planning and Investment of Vietnam. You have the floor.
Honorable Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government of Socialist Vietnam, I would like to express our strong support to the CPD57 statement, which advanced ICPD program of action within the context of achieving the Sustainable Development Goal by 2030. Over the past 30 years, Vietnam has taken innovative approaches to tackle inequalities and to bridge the disparity in social and economic status between the region and population group. Vietnam also recently reached 100 million population milestone. Our citizens are living longer, healthier lives. Indeed, Vietnam has surpassed global trend to reduce the maternal mortality by 46% over the past 20 years, and use of modern contraceptive is now over 60%, also representing an increase. However, Vietnam still needs to focus to obtain to the zero maternal death and to zero unmet need for family planning. Vietnam is also proactive responding to emerging issues such as population aging and our largest ever cohort of young people, as well as the threat of the climate-induced disaster, to ensure that no one is left behind. We believe the progress in achieving the three transformative results on reduction of maternal mortality, unmet need for family planning, and ending gender-based violence has substantially contributed to our country's rapid development. We are currently implementing the social and economic development strategy for the period of 2021 to 2030 to achieve a national target on the ICPD and the SDG, as well as look beyond to the post-2030 agenda. Human resources development has played a key role for Vietnam to achieve higher income status by 2045. At this CPD57, we reconfirm that our support to the ICPD program of action, in particular with the financial and technical support from international community. Vietnam will take affirmative measures to, first, mobilize the national budget as well as other resources from development partners and private sector to ensure sufficient financing for sexual and reproductive health and other ICPD priorities as a means to achieve the SDGs. The second, to generate and integrate quality population data into the national socio-economic development strategies. Third, integrate a comprehensive package of SRHR intervention into national universal health coverage strategy, policy, and program with high priority for the vulnerable population, including ethnic minority, migrant persons. Fourth, ensure that young people have access to age-appropriate information and services, including comprehensive sexuality education. Fifth, anti-marriage and sexual, gender-based violence, gender-biased sex selection, and all forms of discrimination against women, girls, minoritized groups, and lastly, to best utilize the opportunities of the demographic dividend and effectively respond and prepare for Vietnam population aging process. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Vietnam will continue to fully engage with the UN system, especially our partnership with UN FPA to realize the SDG targets. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the Deputy Minister of Planning and Investment of Vietnam. Now I give the floor to His Excellency Bunak Pok, Secretary of State, Ministry of Planning of Cambodia. You have the floor.
Mr. Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to address the 57th session of the United Nations Commission on Population and Development on behalf of the Royal Government of Cambodia. We acknowledge the importance of this session in reviewing the implementation of the ICPD Program of Action and its contribution to the follow-up and review of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development during this critical decade of action. Cambodia remains steadfast in its commitment to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and actively contributes to its follow-up and review process. I am proud to stand before you today and share the remarkable progress we have made in implementing the ICPD POA, particularly in area of reproductive health, gender equality, and youth empowerment. Since the adoption of the ICPD POA, Cambodia has undergone a transformative journey. We have made great strides in improving access to sexual and reproductive health services, reducing maternal mortality, and increasing contraceptive prevalence. It is with great pride that I announce Cambodia's ranking as #1 in the 2023 Asian Pacific Contraceptive Policy Atlas, a testament to our unwavering dedication to ensuring universal access to family planning and reproductive health services. A remarkable progress in empowering youth through comprehensive sexuality education deserves attention as well, as it has been integrated into national curricula, making it mandatory for grades 5 to 12, and strategies are in place to ensure our school youth also receive this critical education. Cambodia recognized the urgent need to eliminate, prevent, and respond to all forms of gender-based violence and discrimination against women and girls. We are committed to addressing harmful social and gender norms, providing survivor-centered response services, promoting positive masculinities, and fully engaging men and boys in the fight against GBV. The government is developing national policies and legal frameworks that protect and promote the rights of women and girls and facilitate their participation in economic, social, and political spheres. I would like to take this opportunity to reaffirm Cambodia's steadfast commitment to the 12 national commitments we made at the Nairobi summit. To support the realization of these commitments, Cambodia has established an inter-ministerial special committee on the ICPD Program of Action through a sub-decree. This committee is led by the Ministry of Planning and comprising 24 ministries and UNFPA and 2 CSO representatives as observers, as well as its 25 subnational committees. Additionally, the Cambodian Strategic Framework Action Plan 2024-2030 provides a groundbreaking, costed roadmap with defined areas of responsibility and agreed indicators for monitoring by respective ministries. As we gather here today to address the theme of this session, we recognize the profound impact of population dynamics on sustainable development. And we understand the paramount importance of cultivating and harnessing the potential of the demographic dividend. However, we also acknowledge the challenges that lie ahead, including addressing inequality, climate change, and the economic impact of COVID-19 and global events. Cambodia remains resolute in its commitment to tackling these challenges heads up. working in collaboration with our international partners and civil society organizations. In conclusion, Mr. Chair, let us seize this opportunity to renew our collective commitment to the ICPD Program of Action and the 2030 Agenda. Cambodia's unique solutions and collaborative approach serve as a beacon of hope, a testament to our dedication to creating a brighter future for all. Together, we can build a world where every individual can realize their full potential, where gender equality is a reality, and where no one is left behind. Thank you.
I thank the Secretary of State, Ministry of Planning of Cambodia. I now give the floor to Her Excellency Lokear Sultana, State Minister, Minister of Health and Family Welfare of Bangladesh. You have the floor.
Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished guests, delegates, we welcome the adoption of the political declaration on the occasion of the 13th anniversary of ICPD Program of Action. We believe implementation of the ICPD Program of Action is essential for achieving sustainable development goal. To reinforce this message on the occasion of ICPD 30, we are hosting the Global Dialogue on Demographic Diversity and the Sustainable Development in Dhaka from 15-16 May 2024. Our father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, dreamed of a society where all people will enjoy a healthy and prosperous life. This is why the Constitution made medical care and public health improvement as the primary duties of the state. The government of our government of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has been working relentlessly fulfill this duty, and we consider ICPD Program of Action as an important accelerator for that. Our national development policies and the strategies have been aligned with the ICPD framework. Now, we have taken the initiative to increase the number of the midwives, skilled birth attendants, nurses, and doctors so that no woman gives birth without medical help. By 2030, we aim to reduce the maternal mortality rate from 136 to 70 per 100,000 live births. We had adopted the National Adolescent Health Strategy for the 2017 to 2030 and implementing a national plan of action for strategy. We have ensured accessible and affordable, safe, modern contraceptives for all. Unmet needs for family planning stand at 10% only. We have taken an initiative to provide free sanitary napkins and sexual and reproductive health information to 5 million school girls from the 6th grade to 12th grade. Our labor laws mandate childcare facilities and healthcare services in all RMG factories where female workers make up 60 to 70% of the workforce. Legal and policy measures have been taken to prevent the child marriage and the end sexual and gender-based violence. 14,000 community sorry, 14,000 community health clinic know as Sheikh Hasina's initiative provide maternal, neonatal, and other primary health care at the grassroots level. To reach every mother and child of our country, we have established 5,500 union-level health and family welfare centers. To provide 24/7 service, we are planning to deploy 4 midwives in each of those centers. Health education has been prioritized. Currently, we have 5 medical universities, 104 medical colleges, 51 nursing colleges, among others. We have established a quality and disaggregated health management information system under the leadership of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Awareness raising on sexual and reproductive issues are provided at all levels, including by the courtyard meeting, 30,000 satellite clinics, and involvement of community leaders and civil society partners. Mr. Chair, while we rejoice our achievement, we are also concerned with existing and new challenges. We need greater international collaboration and solidarity to tackle this. Allow me to share some thoughts. Firstly, we need effective and meaningful partnership with all stakeholders at national and global level, and involving civil society, private sector, and the international community to realize the objective of ICPD program of action. Secondly, building resilient health system that can deliver a high quality, equitable service to all. We need support in research, training, data management, and use of the technology and the innovation in improving the healthcare infrastructure. Thirdly, youth empowerment and their meaningful participation in decision-making processes must be ensured across reproductive health, education, and skill development, and overall development policies at all levels. Finally, we must promote the South-South and the triangular cooperation to accelerate the progress on the achieving ICPD and SDGs in developing countries. Mr. Chairs, ahead of this year's Summit of the Future, our government remains committed to empowering the people and preparing them to face the challenges of futures. Our Vision 2041 and the Smart Bangladesh slogan of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina are meant to guide us towards that goal. Thanks all. Joy Bangla, Joy Bangabandhu.
I thank the State Minister of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of Bangladesh. I now give the floor to Ms. Dalia Marchak, First Deputy Minister for Social Policy of Ukraine. You have the floor.
Mr. Chair, the debate underscored that demographic challenges affect countries worldwide, regardless of their wealth or geographic locations. Regrettably, wars and Arab conflicts consume significant resources, financial and human, that could otherwise be allocated for addressing these pressing issues. Therefore, the themes outlined in the action program of the ICPD are particularly urgent for Ukraine, currently withstanding Russia's unprovoked and unjustified aggressions. The war has inflicted significant harm upon Ukraine, resulting in a unprecedented scale of population displacement, destruction, and profound human suffering and loss, notably affecting the rights of women and children. Gender-based violence is recognized as a critical issue and a serious violation of human rights. Prior to war, Ukraine made significant strides toward achieving zero tolerance to gender-based violence. However, the war has dramatically heightened the risk of various forms of gender-based violence, including sexual exploitation, abuse, and human trafficking. In 2023, the number of reported cases of domestic violence surged by 51% compared to 2022. Families also face serious challenges related to conscription. An increase in the number of female-headed and single-parent households is expected, as well as an increase in the number of households with persons with disabilities. The war became a critical factor in the decline of the population in Ukraine. Firstly, due to the physical reduction of the number of citizens living in the territory under the control of the government. About 10 million citizens of Ukraine, or every fourth Ukrainian, ended up elsewhere, but not under the jurisdiction of the government. Of them, approximately 5 million Ukrainians are now abroad. Another consequence of the war is a rapid increase in the rate of premature mortality. Even prior to the full-scale invasion and the COVID-19 pandemic, life expectancy in Ukraine was much lower than in other countries of Europe. Now, this indicator has decreased even more, both as a result of direct military actions, shelling, missile attacks, and the result of a significant deterioration of access to medicine, primarily in the frontline regions. These demographic changes require a focus on strengthening demographic resilience. Protecting and investing in human capital is essential to foster development and recovery. In order to overcome these challenges, Ukraine is already introducing new policies aimed at protecting persons who have suffered as a result of the war, and these policies can become our contribution to the world experience and practices of working with the negative consequences of military aggression and military conflicts in the world. First, responding to the gender-based violence remains of our highest priorities. In November 2022, the Parliament of Ukraine ratified the Istanbul Convention. In May 2022, the government and the United Nations signed a framework program for cooperation on preventing and combating sexual violence. Secondly, we are developing a system of social services aimed at helping veterans of the current war and veterans' families in supporting the transition from military to civilian life. Including, we are developing a system of providing psychological support in centers in resilient centers. Already this year, we plan to launch more than 40 such resilient centers, and in the coming years, we ensure that such centers will function in every community of the country. Finally, in order to find systematic solution and effective mechanism for overcoming key demographic challenges, with the support of UNFPA, we developed a draft demographic development strategy until 2040. The goal of Ukraine demographic policy, given the problems, are obvious: creating conditions for increasing the birth rate, and for this, comprehensive, effective, and timely support for the family. Reduction of premature mortality, changing the migration trend and ensuring migration growth of the population, taking into account the significant ways of migration inside the country, the loss of part of the territories, the optimal resettlement of citizens on the territory of Ukraine. Adapting to demographic aging and creating conditions to active longevity. We understand any policies aimed only at solving one issue will give a very limited effect if we do not provide basic sufficient conditions for a comfortable life in the country. These are the safety of life, individual housing, availability of work with decent pay, convenient and accessible infrastructure, social cohesion of society. That is also extremely important in order to ensure the inflow of migrants from other countries to Ukraine in the future, which is an undeniable need against the background of the decline in the population of our country. Despite the war, Ukraine remains committed to human rights priorities, the achievement of sustainable development goals, and the preservation and development of human capital. We stand ready to work with all international partners and countries to find common solutions to global problems and, above all, to achieve just and lasting peace in Ukraine. We firmly believe that the sooner peace is restored, the greater the stability in the world would be, enabling us to redirect resources toward achieving sustainable development and advancing the agenda outlined in the ICPD. Thank you.
I thank the First Deputy Minister for Social Policy of Ukraine. And now I would like to give the floor to His Excellency Talek Taufik, Deputy Minister of Health and Population of Egypt. You have the floor.
شكرا السيد الرئيس. في البداية أحب أن أؤكد تأييد وفد مصر البيان الذي ألقته دولة بيلاروسيا عن مجموعة أصدقاء الأسرة، ويود أن يضيف هذا الوفد بعض النقاط التالية بصفة وطنية. تتزامن أعمال اللجنة هذا العام مع مرور 30 عاما على المؤتمر الدولي للسكان والتنمية في القاهرة 1994، وما شهده هذا المؤتمر من توافق تاريخي على برنامج عمل المؤتمر وتأكيد العلاقة الوثيقة بين السكان والتنمية. وفي ظل التطورات الدولية التي يشهدها عالمنا، بات ملحا تعزيز الجهود الدولية للتغلب على التحديات المشتركة والنظر بجدية للعلاقة التكاملية بين برنامج عمل المؤتمر وأجندة 2030 للتنمية المستدامة. وكذلك الأهمية العاجلة لزيادة الاستثمار في جهود القضاء على الفقر والجوع والأمراض وزيادة معدلات التعليم والتوظيف والنمو دفعا لمساعينا لتحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة بحلول 2030. تواصل الدولة المصرية جهودها في هذا السياق دفعا للعلاقة الوثيقة بين قضيتي السكان والتنمية، وقد استضافت مصر في سبتمبر 2023 المؤتمر الدولي العالمي الأول للسكان والصحة والتنمية، والذي ركز على التحديات والفرص المرتبطة بالقضية السكانية، لا سيما فيما يتعلق بالرعاية الصحية وتكاملها، الخدمات التعليمية وتوفيرها، ودراسة آثار النمو السكاني على البنية التحتية، وكيفية ضبط معدلات النمو السكاني وتنظيم الأسرة بالتوازي مع فرص الاستفادة مما تمثله التغيرات الديموغرافية من قوة دافعة يجب حسن توظيفها من أجل تحقيق التنمية والنمو. وفي هذه الأثناء أطلقت مصر كذلك الاستراتيجية الوطنية للسكان والتنمية المحدثة لسنة 2030، وبما يشمل تعظيم الخصائص السكانية والارتقاء بجودة حياة المواطنين وفقا لأهداف التنمية المستدامة ورؤية مصر 2030. ترتكز هذه الاستراتيجية المحدثة على عدة محاور أهمها صحة الأمهات والأطفال والاستثمار في الطاقة البشرية لتعظيم الاستفادة من النمو السكاني ومواصلة مساعي الدولة المصرية لتمكين المرأة والشباب وتطوير التعليم والتنمية والبيئة مع حوكمة السياسات السكانية وزيادة الوعي بهذه القضية، وهو ما يمثل أهم محاور الاستراتيجية الوطنية المحدثة بناء على ال CPD أو برنامج العمل اللي احنا بنتكلم عليه. وتهدف مصر أن يكون تنفيذ الاستراتيجية مكملا لمشروعات قومية رائدة كالمشروع القومي لتنمية الأسرة المصرية، والذي يهدف للارتقاء بجودة حياة الأسرة وتعظيم الخصائص الاجتماعية الموجودة، الخصائص المصرية الموجودة والسكانية سكانيا وصحيا وثقافيا، وكذلك تطوير منظومة الفحوصات الطبية قبل الزواج وبعده. كما تهدف لأن تحقق الاستراتيجية تنامغا مع المبادرة القومية لحياة كريمة التي تهدف للارتقاء بمستوى الخدمات في القرى المصرية والبنية التحتية الموجودة فيها، إدراكا بأهمية العملية التنموية الشاملة والتي لا تترك أحدا خلف الركب، مع التركيز بصفة خاصة على الشباب والأجيال الأصغر لا سيما وأن 60% من تعداد السكان المصري أقل من 30 سنة أو 30 عاما. كذلك حرصت الدولة المصرية على توسيع مبادرات الصحة العامة المصرية تحت شعار 100 مليون صحة، لتشمل مبادرة جديدة للفحص المقبلين على الزواج من أجل زيادة الاستفادة الطبية والاجتماعية على المدى القصير والطويل في الوصول لجيل خالي من الأمراض الوراثية والمعدية، وإيمانا بأن سلامة الأسرة وتمتعها بحياة آمنة ومستقرة يعد أول خطوة في الطريق نحو تحقيق التنمية المستدامة والارتقاء بالخصائص السكانية. السيد الرئيس، تؤكد مصر دائما أن المكون السكاني يعد إحدى أهم عناصر القوة الشاملة للدولة، مما يتطلب دمجه في الخطة الوطنية للتنمية الاقتصادية والاجتماعية. وتلتزم الدولة المصرية بتنفيذ برنامج سكاني يهدف إلى تحقيق التوازن بين معدلات النمو السكاني والموارد المتاحة مع تعظيم الاستثمار في الطاقة البشرية وتحسين خصائصها، وذلك في إطار تحقيق التنمية المستدامة. ختاما، تؤكد مصر أهمية تعزيز أوجه التضامن الدولي للتغلب على التحديات المشتركة وتحقيق كافة أهداف التنمية المستدامة خلال الفترة المتبقية من عقد العمل حتى 2030. وستواصل الدولة المصرية دعم كافة المساعي الدولية الرامية لتوفير مستقبل آمن ومستدام للأجيال الحالية والمقبلة إن شاء الله. شكرا سيادة الرئيس. شكرا.
I thank the Deputy Minister of Health and Population of Egypt. I now give the floor to His Excellency Amos Lugo-Loobi, Minister of State Planning, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development of Uganda. You have the floor.
Mr. Chairperson, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, the theme for the 57th session is quite timely as we celebrate 30 years of ICPD achievements. It provides an opportunity to reflect on our performance over the years and informs us of our next steps towards sustainable development. Uganda remains committed to the ICPD aspirations. I'm happy to report that this year, Uganda achieved a key milestone. Uganda transitioned from a low human development category to the medium human development category and has met the requirements for categorization as a lower middle income country according to the 2023-24 Human Development Report. This positive shift is further supported by the 2022 Uganda Demographic and Health Survey results, which revealed improved outcomes. Key indicators of progress include maternal mortality ratio reduced from 336 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2016 to 189 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2022. Number two, infant mortality reduced from 43 deaths in 2016 to 36 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2022, and under 5 mortality rate reduced from 64 deaths in 2016 to 52 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2022. The unmet need for family planning for married women reduced from 28% in 2016 to 24% in 2022. Uganda has achieved gender parity in enrollment at different levels of education. Additionally, 36% of seats in Uganda's national parliament are held by women. This is up from 16% in 1998. The economy has proved to be resilient, which is reflected in public resources mobilization and revenues and debt management. Ugandans are now healthier and live longer than ever, and there is noticeable resilience of the health system to address health issues. As a result, life expectancy has increased from 43 years in 1990 to 68 years in 2022. Chair, the government of Uganda has made poverty eradication a priority of its third national development plan, with the goal of increasing household income and improving the quality of life of its citizens. Strategies to advance gender equality and empowerment of women, including young people, have been advanced through the parish development model, where 30% of the funds are for youth and 30% for women. A MIOGA program, the Presidential Initiative on Wealth and Job Creation, the Youth Livelihood Program, the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, and generating growth opportunities in productivity for women enterprises, among others. Uganda recognizes the importance of strengthening population data systems to inform policy decisions, allocate resources more effectively, monitor progress towards sustainable development goals, and respond to emergencies. To this end, the government of Uganda has commissioned the Uganda National Population and Housing Census 2024, scheduled for May this year. The census will provide the country with up-to-date planning and decision-making data. Despite this progress, some challenges still exist. 41% of Ugandan youth aged 18 to 30 years are still not in education, employment, and training. The fertility rate is still high at 5.2, impacting the dependency ratio and the pressure on public services. There's a high and stagnant teenage pregnancy rate of 24% and associated child marriages. Gender-based violence is still high at 23% for married women and 14% for married men. The youth unemployment rate is 13% against the national employment rate of 6%. Uganda is experiencing the effects of climate change as evidenced by prolonged seasons of drought, floods, landslides, environmental degradation, and rising general temperatures, which have negatively impacted the economy and livelihoods. Mr. Chairman, in response to the challenges mentioned above, the government of Uganda is undertaking the following key actions. We created regional hubs to scale up technical, vocational, education, and training to address the skilling needs of the young population. We developed a health national adaptation plan to ensure a harmonized and coordinated approach towards climate resilience and an adaptive health system. The HNAP has integrated wash and clean energy cooking innovations as a significant improvement towards public health. Expanded social protection programs, including social security, livelihoods, and building resilience for individuals and families. Implementing a national teenage pregnancy and child marriage prevention strategy to address teenage pregnancy, stem child marriages, and promote positive parenting. Scaled up the implementation of the community health strategy to enhance demand creation for family planning and continue improving access to quality and integrated SRHR services. Formulating the country's new National Development Plan 4 that will aim to position the Human Capital Development Program at the center of the country's development. Mr. Chairman, on behalf of my country, Uganda, I affirm our commitment towards accelerated implementation of the ICPD Plan of Action to address the unfinished business. We call upon the international community to support our national efforts. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the Minister of State Planning, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development of Uganda. I now give the floor to Ms. Jessica Swafford Malusela, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Population Affairs, Director, Office of Adolescent Health, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services of United States of America. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. As the global community commemorates 30 years of the adoption of the International Conference on Population and Development's Program of Action, the United States continues to strongly support the arc of progress that propels this important rights-based agenda forward. Moreover, we deeply value the opportunity to reflect on the ways in which we have failed to achieve ICPD's fundamental tenets of dignity, respect, and humane treatment for some of our most vulnerable communities. We must focus on our pain points and setbacks to protect against complacency, because progress is neither sufficient, comfort, nor an appropriate justification for those who are facing the loss of loved ones due to preventable maternal or infant deaths, or unsafe abortion, or for those who daily live in fear, disregarded or denigrated because of their age, gender, or sexual orientation. The ICPD represented a watershed moment in which the global community elevated human rights and achieved a consensus recognizing what we have known individually and in community for generations. Reproductive rights are central to an inclusive, thriving society. Since 1994, together we have championed an agenda that unequivocally transforms the lives of women and girls in all of their diversity around the world for the better. And it is underpinned by the simple yet profound recognition that sexual and reproductive health and rights are the cornerstone of our health and well-being. And to be clear, that is for everyone. In the face of increasing global polarization and misinformation, we have a responsibility to persist and to resist the false narratives that seek to undermine human rights. Maternal health, access to contraception, and safe abortion are inextricably linked if you center the health and well-being of women and girls. There's no place in this world for gender-based violence, and that includes the more subversive efforts to maintain gender inequality. Violence and discrimination against LGBTQI+ people runs contrary to the Cairo enshrined principles of dignity, respect, and humane treatment, and therefore the very fabric of our ICPD global consensus. This 30th anniversary is an inflection point that requires critical reflection for us all, not just as partners, but as stewards implementing the program of action within our own countries. As the United States takes stock of the progress and setbacks domestically, we acknowledge that the fight for reproductive freedom in the U.S. has not and will not be realized without confronting and addressing a legacy of racial atrocities and gender inequality. The data in our own country that by virtue of race alone, someone who looks like me faces very different and potentially catastrophic birth and postpartum outcomes than a white woman is a stark reality that should serve as a catalyst for action. We cannot rest as champions of public health when it is the case that Black and Native American women have a 65% higher mortality rate from cervical cancer than white women. These are our sisters, our daughters, our friends, ourselves, and we must continue efforts to reverse the pervasive chilling effect on a range of essential primary and preventive care, including sexual and reproductive health care, that has spread far and wide as a result of the erosion of abortion rights in parts of our country. Put simply, we arrive here today with humility, but also with determination, as many of you do. The U.S. commitment to gender equality, SRHR, and human rights is enduring and anchored not just by our government, but by civil society, individuals, and families. The Biden-Harris administration is proud to translate and amplify that pledge through its intensive whole-of-government approach to address and respond to these challenges at home and abroad. SRHR is and will continue to be a critical pillar of our efforts to advance equity and equality, including for those who have been historically underserved, marginalized, and adversely impacted by persistent poverty and inequality. And to the young people who are listening, I hope to instill within you the same message that then First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton shared at Cairo +5 25 years ago. You are the vanguard. Progress is halting and requires a fierce determination to achieve the clear vision outlined by the program of action. You have the benefit and expertise to not only understand what we are fighting for, but for whom. In that spirit, the United States unequivocally supports the program of action, knowing that together our work is not done until no one is left behind. Thank you.
I thank the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Population Affairs, Department of Health and Human Services of the United States. I now give the floor to Ms. Gabriela Rodriguez, Secretary General of the National Population Council of Mexico. You have the floor.
Gracias, muy buenas tardes. La Conferencia Internacional de Población y Desarrollo de 1994 demostró el peso que tiene la solidaridad internacional. No podemos olvidar que 179 países del mundo reconocieron por consenso el derecho a decidir de las mujeres. Fue inédito el llamado para incluir la salud sexual y los derechos reproductivos en la educación sexual, en los servicios de salud reproductiva, el aborto seguro donde estuviera permitido por las leyes. Este plan de acción del Cairo ha sido el marco que amplió la agenda en los países del continente latinoamericano. El consenso de Montevideo concretó el plan de acción con un acierto al centrarse en las desigualdades de clase, étnicas, etarias, las sexuales y las de género, específicamente asumiendo que estamos frente a un orden económico mundial muy desgastado, con lo cual asumimos desde América Latina que tenemos que los gobiernos acercarnos a la mentalidad de la generación que nace en el siglo XXI. Los avances, muchos de los avances de los indicadores de la conferencia del Plan de Acción del Cairo están vinculados a la Agenda 2030. En México, con 130 políticas públicas, presentamos avances en todos los objetivos de las ODS. Pese a la pandemia del 19, logramos en estos años que 5 millones de mexicanas y mexicanos salieran de la situación de pobreza, que creciera 110% el salario mínimo y un 20% el ingreso familiar. Con muchas dificultades, pero logramos recuperar al 90% la cobertura de educación básica y al 73% la de media superior o terciaria. En la actualidad se están desarrollando polos de desarrollo al sur y sureste del país, que es la zona más pobre en nuestra región, en nuestro país. Y en términos de migración, que hemos pasado a ser un país de origen, de destino y de tránsito, el presidente de México apuesta por atender sus causas y hace un llamado a la comunidad internacional para invertir en el desarrollo de los países de origen. Además, nos hace falta desarrollar servicios especiales para las mujeres gestantes que transitan por nuestro territorio. Pero tenemos un saldo neto migratorio de 0.39%, así que crecemos lentamente al 1% anual y somos 132.3 millones de habitantes. Ocupamos el 10º lugar entre los países con más población en el mundo. Estamos cumpliendo 50 años de fundado el Consejo Nacional de Población, que fue un hito en nuestro país. Y actualmente, en la situación contraria, enfrentamos un freno en la fecundidad. Las mujeres mexicanas tienen menos de 2 hijos en promedio, la tasa de fecundidad en adolescentes descendió, la educación sexual y reproductiva es un derecho constitucional y también es un mandato que los currícula tengan perspectiva de género. En estos últimos 3 años logramos que la interrupción legal del embarazo por voluntad de la mujer pase a ser un derecho en 13 entidades de las 32. Sin embargo, persisten desigualdades al interior de nuestras regiones y por una discriminación histórica y estructural. Las poblaciones indígenas y afrodescendientes presentan mayores tasas de fecundidad y menor esperanza de vida. Hay un estancamiento en la tasa de uniones forzadas y de niñas madres menores de 14 años. Se trata de pautas patriarcales milenarias que no han estado libres de tensiones entre género y generaciones. El nuevo perfil demográfico de México nos obliga a anticiparnos a los cambios en la estructura por edad. De acuerdo a nuestras proyecciones, el grupo de jóvenes adultas representa el mayor volumen de nuestra población, los de 30 a 59 años, y en 50 años engrosarán al grupo de mayores de 60, triplicando su volumen. Es inminente el proceso de envejecimiento poblacional, lo cual reclama un enfoque intergeneracional. Empezar desde la infancia para eliminar situaciones de desventaja y promover una vida saludable de niñas, niños y adolescentes. Erradicar todo tipo de violencias y de embarazos en la segunda década de vida. Importa Importa reforzar la inversión en la generación de estudiantes y de jóvenes, ampliar el acceso a la educación superior y el mercado laboral y el trabajo decente con seguridad social para las y los jóvenes adultos, y así como superar las brechas de género. Las políticas tienen que articular el trabajo de cuidados. 96% de menores de 5 años son cuidados por mujeres. 2/3 partes de ellas cuidan a las personas mayores. Y aunque todas y todos los mexicanos de 65 años y más reciben una pensión universal de $180 mensuales, es como un mínimo vital, la brecha está en la pensión de jubilación. Solo recibe 40% de los trabajadores ese tipo de pensión y 25% de las mujeres trabajadoras. ¿Por qué? Pues porque ellas se ocuparon mayormente en el sector informal y en el trabajo de cuidados, un trabajo que no se paga y que debe asumirse como responsabilidad de Estado. Es necesario solidarizarnos para garantizar un trabajo decente, con horarios más cortos y más flexibles, con mejores salarios, mejorar la atención de niñas, niños y adolescentes y de las personas en situación de dependencia. Requiere de esas flexibilidades. La economía de cuidados es una ruta indispensable para la convivencia, para hacer viable la movilidad social y la autonomía de las mujeres. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias, and I thank the Secretary General of the National Population Council of Mexico. And we have a long list of speakers, so I would like to appeal to delegation to strictly observe the agreed time limits. So I now give the floor to Ms. Letica Adelaide Appiah, Executive Director of the National Population Authority of Ghana. You have the floor.
Mr. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. 3 decades ago in Cairo, we redefined the links between population and development and emphasized the imperative for the protection of individual human rights, as well as reproductive health and rights, to be at the heart of population and development discourse and programs. 30 years on, we look back with satisfaction on the significant progress that has been realized and must renew our commitment to accomplish the achievements of the objectives as are still required to realize the agenda set out in 1994. Mindful of the interconnected and cross-border challenges of our contemporary era, as well as the crisis of COVID-19 pandemic, conflicts and climate change, we must work together to address the emerging realities that have rolled back the gains that are being made in both the ICPD and SDGs. We urge all countries to work together across borders and all other divides to uphold the tenets of ICPD Program of Action and to ensure much-needed investments that will accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals and finance the ICPD. Action is also urgently required to relieve many of the developing countries that have been pushed into debt distress with the ever-dwindling fiscal space for mobilizing domestic resources to finance the ICPD plan of action. As an African developing country, Ghana has since its independence remained cognizant of the importance between population and development, a factor that led us to develop by 1969 population policy, one of the first in West Africa. We have remained committed to sharing our national expertise and contributing to global policies in this era. No doubt, many of you who have been in this domain for long would be familiar with the contributions of one of my predecessors, Professor Sai, to women's sexual and reproductive health rights, and especially for his role as the chair of the main committee of 1994 International Conference on Population and Development. as well as his enduring commitment to the agenda, as was exemplified during the 25th year review in Nairobi in 2014. On reproductive health, Ghana has over the past decades widened access to sexual reproductive health information and services, including family planning. This had led to a decline in maternal mortality ratios, total fertility rate, and population growth rate, and an increase in life expectancy, albeit slowly. On women in leadership, the percentage of women in the National Parliament increased from 8% in 1992 to 14.5% in 2021, and we expect that the Affirmative Action Bill, which is under consideration in Parliament, would help significantly improve the overall levels of representation. Child protection remains an important area of focus for the government of Ghana. While Ghana is yet to achieve a complete eradication of harmful practices of child marriage, the incidents are fast reducing. In addition, the Child Labor Unit of the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations has, with the support of partners and ILO, worked on reducing the incidence of child labor in all its exploitative forms. The country continues to pay particular attention to the well-being of children and has ensured free education to guarantee access for all. The country has progressed from its free compulsory basic education policy to a free senior high school policy that guarantees an opportunity to education for all up to the senior high school level, highlighting the importance we attach to human capital development through education and skill training. Technical and vocational education and training has been enhanced in order to provide relevant skill sets to address the challenges of unemployment, the need for decent jobs, and income expectations of the growing youthful population. Excellencies, in seeking to address the inequalities within the society, the government of Ghana, through the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, has been implementing a number of climate change resilience strategies to enhance inclusion, decent work, climate action, and resilience building in affected communities and cities in the country. Climate resilience interventions have supported people in West-affected areas aimed at redressing the disproportionate effects of climate change on women and men. This support has empowered targeted families with sufficient resources to support their children's well-being. 60% of beneficiaries of the interventions have been women. Sustainable livelihoods, as we know, contributes to reduction of early and unwanted pregnancies. To address threats of violent extremism, the government of Ghana has been working with development partners and NGOs in building the capacities and resilience of young people through education, employment, and decent livelihoods in our quest to reaping the demographic dividend. Despite the successes, avoidable barriers towards finishing the unfinished business still exist in the areas of child marriage, teenage motherhood, unmet need for family planning, women's health and nutrition, and women's economic empowerment. The National Population Council, the UN agencies, and development partners working with other agencies and concerned NGOs have actively taken up evidence-driven approach to enhance education, advocacy, and the need for continuous action to implement the program of action and the SDGs. In conclusion, Ghana reaffirms its commitment to ICPD and its principles and calls on all countries to unite around a renewed dedication to accelerating the implementation of the program of action and sustainable development goals, ensuring none is left behind whilst harnessing each potential. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the Executive Director of the National Population Authority of Ghana. I now give the floor to Ms. Myosotis Libas Pena, General Director of the National Statistics Office of Dominican Republic. You have the floor.
Muchísimas gracias, señor presidente. En nombre del Gobierno de la República Dominicana, es un honor reiterar nuevamente nuestro firme compromiso con el programa de acción de la Conferencia Internacional sobre Población y Desarrollo, así como con el Consenso de Montevideo instrumento regional que operativiza dicha conferencia y con los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible. Estos son pilares fundamentales que guían nuestras políticas hacia un futuro próspero y equitativo. Extendemos nuestras más sinceras felicitaciones a Su Excelencia Noemí Espinosa Madrid, presidenta de este periodo de sesiones, así como a usted y a los demás representantes del buró que les acompañan por el excelente trabajo desarrollado hasta el momento. Igualmente saludamos a todas y cada una de las distinguidas delegaciones presentes, así como a los y las representantes de organismos internacionales, la sociedad civil que nos acompañan en este espacio de diálogo y colaboración. Es con el esfuerzo conjunto de todas y todos que podremos avanzar hacia un futuro donde cada persona tenga oportunidad de alcanzar su máximo potencial y contribuir al bienestar colectivo. Señoras y señores, para lograr el desarrollo sostenible es crucial adoptar un enfoque que propicie el respeto y la promoción de los derechos humanos. El programa de acción de la conferencia ha servido como un marco internacional, destacando la necesidad de políticas que consideren la dinámica poblacional. A 30 años de su adopción, este programa nos ha capacitado para implementar acciones concretas y efectivas. En materia de poblacional, la República Dominicana presenta importantes avances y desafíos. La población dominicana aumentó un 47% en las 3 décadas pasadas y se proyecta un aumento de un 17% para los próximos 30 años. La población adulta mayor continúa aumentando tanto en tamaño como en porcentaje de la población total, debido al aumento de la esperanza de vida. Tomando en cuenta la estructura poblacional de nuestra sociedad está cambiando aceleradamente, el gobierno dominicano asumió el compromiso de avanzar en la construcción participativa de un sistema nacional de cuidados. Y como punto de partida ha puesto en marcha la estrategia piloto de comunidades de cuidados en 2 municipios priorizados, en los cuales se elaboran planes locales de cuidados. Además de las personas adultas mayores, forman parte de las poblaciones meta de dicha iniciativa, como también la primera infancia y personas con discapacidad en situación de dependencia. Esta política de cuidados contribuye significativamente a la generación de oportunidades de empleo formal y digno para las mujeres. En atención al 12.3% de la población que vive con algún tipo de discapacidad en el país, se han ejecutado diversos programas de acción para la inclusión efectiva de las personas con discapacidad y así garantizar una plena participación en todos los ámbitos del ciclo de vida, desde la implementación de programas de inclusión laboral, mejorar los esquemas de servicios educativos, evaluación de accesibilidad universal en instituciones públicas y privadas y la correcta valoración del tipo de discapacidad. Estos esfuerzos han permitido significativamente que los servicios de protección social puedan entregar pensiones solidarias por concepto de discapacidad y adulto mayor cada año, favoreciendo fondos como la asistencia social a niños y niñas y adolescentes con discapacidad, priorización de los esquemas de servicios sociales, mejorando el acceso y participación de las personas con discapacidad. Otras acciones específicas han sido impulsadas para asegurar que todas las personas mayores tengan acceso a servicios de salud y se destacan programas diseñados para brindar atención integral de salud, protección social y mejorar la calidad de vida de las personas adultas mayores. Estos programas incluyen servicios médicos especializados y la provisión de medicamentos necesarios para su bienestar. Celebramos los avances que hemos hecho en reducción de la pobreza en este 2023. El país en general se redujo la pobreza significativamente en 4.7 puntos porcentuales en comparación con el 2022. Sin embargo, la pobreza extrema mostró un cambio más moderado. Estos logros fueron posibles gracias al control inflacionario y al continuo aumento del ingreso per cápita nominal de los hogares. No obstante, para erradicar la pobreza, es crucial mejorar la capacidad tributaria y seguir optimizando la calidad del gasto. En cuanto a la territorialización de las políticas públicas, alrededor del 15% de nuestra población vive en zona rural. Para garantizar el relevo generacional, se desarrollan programas pro de lo rural orientados a aumentar la resiliencia y el acceso a los mercados de productos, servicios y de empleo con mira a mejorar la calidad de vida de la población beneficiaria. Este año también se ha dado en marcha Pro Rural Joven para mejorar la ocupación y el empleo de emprendimiento de la juventud. Señor presidente, reconocemos el papel vital que desempeñan todas las mujeres, adolescentes y las niñas como agentes de cambio para el desarrollo. Creemos firmemente en la consecución de la igualdad y el empoderamiento de las mujeres, adolescentes y niñas en toda su diversidad, así como la erradicación de todas las formas de violencia y discriminación contra ellas. En línea con estos principios, existe un gran interés de implementar políticas públicas que reduzcan la desigualdad de género. Por eso el presupuesto nacional en ejecución comprende 23 programas prioritarios enfocados en resultados, de los cuales 5 centran en las áreas de género y poblaciones vulnerables. En este contexto, todavía enfrentamos desafíos significativos en la implementación del programa de acción a nivel nacional, especialmente en lo que respecta a los derechos de salud sexual y reproductiva de las mujeres. En un momento en que algunos países están retrocediendo, otros estamos trabajando arduamente para garantizar que todos, independiente de su edad, sexo, educación o vocación geográfica, puedan disfrutar plenamente de sus derechos y lograr una integración completa en la sociedad. A pesar de estos desafíos, el gobierno dominicano sigue comprometido con la implementación de políticas que fomenten la salud sexual y reproductiva en consonancia con la conferencia. Somos conscientes de que el embarazo en adolescentes es una de las problemáticas más serias que nos afecta desde hace muchos años. A pesar de haber experimentado una disminución del 9.1% en el 2023 con respecto al anterior, sigue siendo un desafío importante. Es por ello por lo que mediante el programa de reducción intergeneracional de la pobreza, buscamos romper con la transmisión intergeneracional de la pobreza, reducir la mortalidad materna y las afecciones de salud, promoviendo los servicios de atención integral a niñas y adolescentes embarazadas o en uniones integral individual. Igualmente se promulgó la Ley 121 que prohíbe el matrimonio para personas menores de 18 años. En el 2023 logramos reducir la mortalidad neonatal en alrededor de un 9% respecto al año anterior. Sin embargo, persisten desafíos en relación a la mortalidad materna, que se ha mantenido en 108 por cada 100.000 nacidos vivos. Es necesario seguir intensificando los esfuerzos para lograr las metas establecidas en el 2025 y en el 2023 de nuestra estrategia. Para evaluar el estado de la implementación del programa de la conferencia, hemos establecido mecanismos de coordinación interinstitucional, tanto con el sector público como organizaciones de sociedad civil y organismos internacionales. Finalmente, señor presidente, distinguidos delegados, un componente importante que como país estamos promoviendo es la disponibilidad y el acceso a datos confiables. Es crucial mejorar la calidad, desglose y puntualidad y comparabilidad de las estadísticas oficiales para facilitar la toma de decisiones fundamentales en el logro de nuestros objetivos. Uno de los principales desafíos es la reforma de nuestra Ley de Estadísticas y Censos Nacionales, que data del año 1959, implicando limitaciones para explorar nuevas fuentes de datos como los provenientes del registro administrativo. En ese sentido, nos hemos unido a la iniciativa del secretario general Desbloqueando el Dividendo de los Datos, en donde varias instituciones son parte de esto para lograr reformar esta iniciativa. Una vez más, como lo reafirmamos ayer, nos comprometemos a intensificar nuestros esfuerzos para avanzar en los compromisos establecidos por el programa de acción y fortalecer los mecanismos institucionales a través de los cuales se implementa la Agenda 2030. Igualmente agradecer al Sistema de las Naciones Unidas, en especial a UNFPA, a UNDESA y a la División de Población de la CEPAL por toda la asistencia y apoyo a nuestro país. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, and I thank the General Director of the National Statistics Office of Dominican Republic. I I would like to reiterate again that I would like to appeal to delegation to strictly observe the agreed time limits. So I now give the floor to Ms. Samal Al-Shibai, Head of the Syrian Authority for Family Affairs and Population of Syrian Arab Republic. You have the floor.
السيد الرئيس، السيدات والسادة، يحمل هذا الخطاب في طياته تجربة بلد مر بمرحلة استثنائية واجه فيها حرباً شنتها دول دعمت مجموعات إرهابية لتدمير القيم الإنسانية والأخلاقية التي قام عليها المجتمع السوري. تلتها ممارسات لا إنسانية للقوات الأجنبية المتواجدة على الأراضي السورية بشكل غير شرعي ومن يدعمهم في شمال وشرق سوريا، لتنتقص من تمتع الأفراد بحقوقهم الأساسية إلى جانب فرض الإجراءات القسرية الانفرادية اللا شرعية، والتي فاقمت من ضعف الفئات السكانية الأكثر هشاشة: المهجرين والنازحين داخلياً والأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة وكبار السن، حرمتهم من أدنى حقوقهم المتصلة بالصحة والتعليم والغذاء، وأسهمت في تدمير إنجازات عقود من التنمية وبناء الإنسان. بقدر ما كانت التحديات استثنائية، تطلب ذلك جهوداً لمواجهتها للحفاظ على القيم الإنسانية والأخلاقية التي قام عليها المجتمع السوري عبر تاريخه الحضاري الطويل، والتي عملت وتعمل قوى الإرهاب على تدميرها لنشر الجهل والتخلف ومحاربة القيم الأسرية والاجتماعية، حيث نؤمن في سوريا أن الحفاظ على الأسرة وتمكينها هو أساس قوة المجتمع، والأسرة هي التي تمثل الشكل الفطري السليم والوحيد لمجتمع متماسك معافى قادر على مواجهة التحديات والمتغيرات. في هذا الصدد نشير إلى بعض الجهود المبذولة والخطوات التي اتخذتها حكومة بلادي فيما يتعلق بالقضايا السكانية التنموية عبر جملة من التدابير العملية تتمثل بالسعي الدائم إلى تقديم كافة أشكال الرعاية الصحية وخدمات الصحة الإنجابية للنساء والفتيات المجانية، مع التركيز على المناطق الريفية البعيدة، إضافة إلى تطوير التشريعات والقوانين والإجراءات للحد من التمييز وتعزيز العدالة وتكافؤ الفرص في كافة المجالات بهدف تحقيق العدالة بين الجنسين. وكان آخرها صدور قانون حقوق الطفل في العام 2021، ويتم العمل على إعداد مشاريع قوانين لحماية كبار السن والحد من العنف الأسري ورعاية الأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة. وفي المجال الاقتصادي يتم العمل على دعم ريادة الأعمال للشباب من الجنسين عبر توليد فرص عمل جديدة وإيجاد مصادر مستدامة للدخل، إضافة إلى إقامة برامج تدريبية خاصة للخريجين الجدد. وتولي المؤسسات الحكومية المعنية أهمية كبيرة لمسألة اللاجئين والمهاجرين، والعمل من أجل إعادتهم إلى وطنهم بشكل آمن وطوعي وكريم، بالتعاون مع مؤسسات المجتمع المحلي والأهلي ومنظمات الأمم المتحدة العاملة في سوريا، حيث شكلت الدولة هيئة التنسيق لعودة المهجرين السوريين، وتم تأطير مهامها من خلال التنسيق مع الجهات المعنية المحلية والعربية والأجنبية لتأمين الظروف الملائمة لتبسيط وتسهيل عودة المهجرين إلى أرض الوطن، والسعي إلى توفير السبل العيش الكريم وفق الإمكانات المتاحة. وكإطار مؤسساتي تم تشكيل لجنة وطنية للسكان برئاسة رئيس مجلس الوزراء، وتضم في عضويتها وزارات وجهات معنية بالملف السكاني. وتعمل الهيئة السورية لشؤون الأسرة والسكان بصفتها الأمانة الفنية للجنة الوطنية للسكان على مأسسة الجهود وتوحيدها ضمن رؤية تنموية مستدامة تستهدف كلا الجنسين، يتم تنفيذها في إطار شراكة فاعلة وحقيقية بين كافة الجهات المعنية بقضايا السكان، وبهدف تعزيز مبدأ العدالة بين الجنسين ومنع التمييز والحد من أوجه العنف القائم على الجنس على أساس الجنس. كما تدير الهيئة وحدة لحماية الأسرة كمركز حماية للنساء في سوريا يقدم خدمات داخلية وخارجية متكاملة، إضافة لخدمات المشورة والإحالة للأسر والأفراد عبر خط المساعدة المتاح مجاناً على مدار الساعة. وتم إعداد استراتيجية وطنية لرعاية كبار السن وحمايتهم. السيد الرئيس، ختاماً، تجدد الحكومة السورية التزامها ببرنامج عمل 1994 وتؤكد على أن تمكين النساء والفتيات وتحقيق المساواة بين الجنسين وتعزيز الحماية الاجتماعية السبيل الوحيد للنهوض بالمجتمعات وتحقيق الرفاه والازدهار بما يتوائم وأهداف التنمية المستدامة. ولتحقيق التنمية السكانية فإننا من خلالكم نطالب المجتمع الدولي أولاً الرفع الفوري وغير المشروط للإجراءات القسرية الانفرادية اللاشرعية والمخالفة لأبسط قواعد القانون الدولي والعلاقات الدولية وحقوق الإنسان، إضافة إلى الانسحاب الكامل وغير المشروط من الأراضي السورية، ووقف سرقة ثروات الشعب السوري وخيراته التي تقوم بها القوى المحتلة علناً، والتعويض عن الأضرار التي سببتها هذه الأفعال التي تخالف أحكام ميثاق الأمم المتحدة وتنتهك سيادة الدول وسلامتها الإقليمية. ثانياً، التأكيد على الحق السيادي للدول باختيار أنظمة الضمان الاجتماعي الخاصة بها. ثالثاً، التأكيد على أهمية دور الأسرة في المجتمع كما وردت في العهد الدولي للحقوق المدنية والسياسية. رابعاً، التأكيد على أهمية إحلال الحق في التنمية الذي يضع الإنسان في مركز جهود التنمية ويعترف بكرامته وقيمه المتأصلة ويسعى إلى تحسين نوعية حياة الناس وضمان الوصول إلى الضروريات الأساسية كالغذاء والمأوى والرعاية الصحية والتعليم والتوظيف وصولاً إلى التنمية المستدامة. خامساً، تعزيز الدعم وتوفير التمويل الكافي لسوريا ودعم برامجها الوطنية ذات الصلة بالمسألة السكانية، ودعم مشاريع التعافي المبكر وإعادة الإعمار لمعالجة العقبات المادية والاقتصادية والاجتماعية التي تحول دون العودة والاستقرار للسكان المهجرين. مراعاة الخصوصية الاجتماعية لكل دولة وعدم محاولة فرض أي أفكار تتناقض مع ثقافتها الوطنية والاجتماعية. ختاماً، السيد الرئيس، تؤكد سوريا على أهمية العمل والتعاون المشترك من أجل تحقيق أهداف التنمية المستدامة بما يضمن حصول شعوبنا على فرص متساوية للوصول إلى الموارد والمشاركة في تشكيل السياسات التي تعزز التقدم المستدام، ومن خلال وضع الكرامة الإنسانية في المقدمة والتصدي للتحديات الفريدة التي تواجهها الدول النامية. يمكننا العمل معاً من أجل تحقيق التنمية الشاملة والمستدامة للجميع. شكراً لكم.
I thank the head of the Syrian Authority for Family Affairs and Population of Syrian Arab Republic. I now give the floor to Mr. Issa Masalaway, Secretary General of Higher Population Council of Jordan. You have the floor.
سيد الرئيس، السيدات والسادة، خلال 30 عاماً الماضية سعى الأردن إلى موائمة سياساته وبرامجه وتشريعاته مع برنامج عمل المؤتمر الدولي للسكان والتنمية وأهداف أجندة التنمية المستدامة وغاياتها، مما يعكس التزام الأردن بضمان الشمولية اجتماعياً واقتصادياً والالتزام بمبدأ عدم ترك أحد خلف الركب. شهدت المئوية الأولى للأردن تحسناً ملموساً في كافة المجالات الصحية والتعليمية والاقتصادية والاجتماعية والسياسية، ولكن كانت هناك مؤخراً تغيرات ديموغرافية كبيرة إذ تضاعف عدد السكان في أقل من 20 سنة، فارتفع عددهم بأكثر من 6 ملايين في آخر عقدين ليتجاوز حالياً 11.6 مليون. ونتج مثل هذا النمو السريع في حجم السكان عن النزاعات في الإقليم، وما نتج عنها من موجات لجوء قسري أدت إلى تدفق أعداد كبيرة من اللاجئين إلى الأردن، إذ يشكل غير الأردنيين اليوم نحو ثلث الحجم الكلي للسكان، ويستضيف الأردن ثاني أكبر نسبة في العالم من اللاجئين مقارنة بعدد مواطنيه. ولا تزال أعداد اللاجئين مستمرة في النمو بسبب ارتفاع معدلات الزواج المبكر والإنجاب بينهم، في حين تضاءلت المساعدات من الدول والمنظمات الدولية اللازمة للاستجابة السنوية لحاجات اللاجئين إلى التعليم والصحة والمياه والمسكن والعمل وغيرها من الاحتياجات الأساسية. سيد الرئيس، يحرص الأردن على إدماج الديناميكيات السكانية في التخطيط التنموي بهدف تحقيق نمو مستدام وعادل ضمن منظومة حقوق الإنسان، فأعد الاستراتيجية الوطنية للسكان وأطلق رؤيته للتحديث الاقتصادي التي من ركائزها الارتقاء بنوعية الحياة لجميع المواطنين، كما أطلق أيضا خارطة طريق لتحديث القطاع العام إلى جانب تطوير منظومة الحياة السياسية. وفي القطاع الصحي تبين المؤشرات الصحية جودة وكفاءة الخدمات الصحية المقدمة، حيث تجاوز متوسط العمر المتوقع عند الميلاد 73 سنة، وانخفض معدل وفيات الأطفال الرضع إلى 14 وفاة، ومعدل وفيات الأطفال حديثي الولادة إلى 9 وفيات لكل 1000 ولادة حية، وانخفض معدل إنجاب المراهقات إلى 17 مولود لكل 1000 فتاة مراهقة، كما بلغت نسبة النساء المتزوجات اللواتي في سن الإنجاب واللواتي لبيت حاجتهن لتنظيم الأسرة بطرق حديثة نحو 54%. كما أن نسبة الولادات في المرافق الصحية والرعاية الصحية السابقة للولادة في الأردن رعاية شاملة، ويجري التوسع في التحول الرقمي والسعي إلى تحقيق التغطية الصحية الشاملة والتأمين الصحي الشامل. وفي مجال تعزيز خدمات الصحة الإنجابية والجنسية المقدمة لكافة الفئات السكانية، تم البدء بتنفيذ الاستراتيجية الوطنية للصحة الإنجابية والجنسية والخطة الوطنية لتنفيذ التزامات الأردن نحو قمة نيروبي 19، والخطة الاتصالية لوزارة الصحة في مجال تنظيم الأسرة. كما تم إنشاء نظام وطني للرصد والاستجابة لوفيات الأمهات، ويرصد رقم سنوي عن نسبة وفياتهن التي بلغت في أحدث تقرير 29.9 وفاة لكل 100,000 مولود حي. ولتعزيز برامج الصحة الإنجابية الموجهة للشباب واليافعين، تم إنشاء عيادات صديقة للشباب، وبدأ العمل على تضمين مفاهيم الصحة الإنجابية ضمن المناهج الدراسية، وإنشاء منصات المعرفة الرقمية لضمان حصول الشباب واليافعين واليافعات على المعلومات الموثوقة المرتبطة بالتربية الجنسية وقضايا الصحة الإنجابية، مع الأخذ بعين الاعتبار المراحل العمرية والسياق الاجتماعي والثقافي. وفي مجال الحد من زواج الفتيات ممن هن دون سن 18، تم إعداد الخطة الوطنية للحد من هذا الزواج، وقد ساهمت مدخلات هذه الخطة في خفض نسبة زواج من هن دون سن 18 من 17% إلى 12% في العام الماضي من إجمالي حالات الزواج لأول مرة، إلا أنها لا تزال مرتفعة بين فئة اللاجئين الذين ما زالت زواج القاصرات أكثر شيوعاً بينهم، إذ بلغت نسبة زواج القاصرات بينهم في العام الماضي وحده نحو 38% من إجمالي حالات الزواج لأول مرة. سيد الرئيس، يدرك الأردن أن ترسيخ مبادئ حقوق الإنسان وتعزيزها عامل رئيسي في تعزيز الأمن والسلم الاجتماعي، فتم إجراء تعديلات على التشريعات الوطنية وتبني سياسات ذات صلة بتعزيز وحماية حقوق الإنسان وضمان العدالة والمساواة للجميع. وتم إقرار قانون حقوق الطفل، وإقرار قانون حقوق الأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة، وقانون الأحزاب السياسية، وأجريت تعديلات على قانون الأحوال الشخصية وقانون العقوبات وقانون منع الاتجار بالبشر وقانون العمل، وإقرار مصفوفة الأولويات الوطنية لتعزيز منظومة الحماية من العنف المبني على النوع الاجتماعي والعنف الأسري. كما تم وضع مجموعة من الإجراءات لتوفير نظام شامل وشفاف للحماية الاجتماعية، حيث تم إطلاق الاستراتيجية الوطنية للحماية الاجتماعية، إضافة إلى استحداث برامج للتحويلات النقدية لاستهداف الفئات الأكثر هشاشة وضعفا، كما وسع الضمان الاجتماعي نطاق شموليته للمستفيدين من نظام التأمينات الاجتماعية، وتم استحداث برنامج لتأمين الأمومة والتعطل عن العمل. وعلى الرغم من كل هذه الجهود إلا أن معدل البطالة زال مرتفعا ويبلغ اليوم نحو 20% بين الأردنيين، كما أن نحو 70% من المتعطلين هم من الذكور ويواجهون منافسة في سوق العمل من العمال اللاجئين. وفي مجال كبار السن تولي الحكومة الأردنية اهتماما بكبار السن في الفئة العمرية 65 سنة فأكثر، فتم سن تشريع خاص بالمسنين لتقديم الرعاية الصحية والنفسية والاجتماعية لهم، ولتعزيز حقوق الأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة وضمان مشاركتهم وإدماجهم في المجتمع. أطلق الأردن السياسة الوطنية لضمان حقوق الأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة والاستراتيجية العشرية للتعليم الدامج. سيد الرئيس، يولي الأردن قضية تحقيق المساواة بين الجنسين وتمكين كل النساء والفتيات أهمية خاصة، وكرس على مدى السنوات السابقة جهدا كبيرا لسد فجوة النوع الاجتماعي في مختلف المجالات والحد من العنف القائم على النوع الاجتماعي، فجاءت الاستراتيجية الوطنية للمرأة لتأطير هذه الجهود. سيد الرئيس، يشكل تعزيز جمع البيانات المصنفة وتحليلها ركيزة أساسية لدعم صنع السياسات القائمة على الأدلة في المجالات المتعلقة بأجندة أهداف التنمية المستدامة 2030، حيث تم بناء قاعدة بيانات أهداف التنمية المستدامة وبما يتسق مع الاستراتيجية الوطنية لتطوير النظام الإحصائي والتي يجري العمل حاليا على تحديثها. كما اعتمدت الحكومة الأردنية استراتيجية شاملة لتطوير قطاع تكنولوجيا المعلومات والاتصالات والرقمنة لتحسين الخدمات وتحول الأردن إلى الاقتصاد الرقمي، ويعتزم الأردن إجراء تعداد عام للسكان في العام القادم. سيد الرئيس، إن استعراض التقدم الذي أحرزه الأردن لا يمكن أن ينظر إليه بمعزل عن التحديات المختلفة التي يواجهها الأردن والتي ساهمت في تباطؤ في التقدم في بعض القطاعات وتراجع كبير في قطاعات أخرى، إذ ما زال الأردن يتحمل تبعات اللجوء السوري في ضوء تراجع الدعم الدولي بشكل كبير من جهة، وفي ضوء التحديات التي يواجهها الاقتصاد الأردني من جهة، المتمثلة في خدمة الدين العام والتداعيات العالمية للأزمة الروسية الأوكرانية التي شكلت ضغوطا إضافية ناجمة عن الارتفاع الحاد في أسعار النفط والغذاء وأسعار الفائدة عالميا، مما انعكس سلبا على جهود التعافي. وجاءت الحرب على الفلسطينيين في غزة وما نجم عنها من خسائر غير مسبوقة في الأرواح البشرية وخسائر اقتصادية، فألقت بظلالها على الأردن تمثلت في خسائر كبيرة لقطاع السياحة وارتفاع في كلفة الشحن البحري، وامتد تأثيرها بسرعة إلى الأحوال الاجتماعية. ومع دخول الأزمة السورية عامها الثالث، يؤكد الأردن بأنه مستمر بتقديم خدماته للاجئين، كما يستمر الأردن بالتزامه بدعم وكالة غوث وتشغيل اللاجئين الفلسطينيين في الأردن الأونروا، كما يؤكد من هذا المنبر على ضرورة إنهاء الحرب في غزة لإنقاذ حياة المدنيين وتدارك تأثيرات الدمار واليأس اللذين الحكومة حرب غزة على المنطقة بأسرها وعلى جهود التنمية. سيد الرئيس، في الختام نؤكد على أن تعميم النهج القائم على الحقوق وتعزيز نظم الحوكمة والشراكات بين الجهات المعنية واعتماد نهج شامل لعمليات صنع السياسات في المجالات المختلفة ببرنامج عمل المؤتمر الدولي للسكان والتنمية هي أمور أساسية لضمان حقوق الإنسان وتعزيز العدالة الاجتماعية والمساواة والقدرة على الصمود في مواجهة الأزمات. ومن هذا المنبر نتطلع إلى استمرار دعم المجتمع الدولي للأردن للتعامل مع التحديات الناجمة عن الصراعات في المنطقة لتمكينه من الاستمرار في أداء دوره كعامل أمن واستقرار في إقليم مضطرب بحاجة إلى سلام مستدام لضمان عدم تخلف أحد عن ركب التنمية. شكرا لحسن استماعكم.
I thank the Secretary General of Higher Population Council of Jordan. Now I give the floor to Mr. Christian Basil Baitia, Secretary General, Ministry of Labor and Social Solidarity of Romania. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable members of the Bureau, Your Excellencies, allow me to join other delegates in expressing the appreciation for the opportunity created by the 57th session of the Commission on Population and Development, to advancing our efforts to improve the lives of our people with equity and dignity, and ensure sustained economic growth and sustainable development. In the meantime, I would like to emphasize that we also celebrate 50 years, half of century, from the first World Population Conference held in Bucharest in 1974. After that, Mexico City in 1984 and Cairo in 1994 followed. In the last decades, the worldwide nation faced significant challenges of demographic change with considerable economic and social implications. Low levels of birth rates, specifically in the EU countries, increasing aging of population, and considerable high levels of migration of active population are several key factors that challenges the national policies in the overall purpose of sustainable development of our society. Romania also faces a major demographic decline caused by reducing fertility rate, high values of infant mortality, and intense migratory flows in many regions of the country over the past 2 decades. There is also a high concentration of population in urban areas, and in parallel, considerable depopulation phenomenon of rural areas, especially in the periphery. Moreover, despite significant improvements, Romania still faces considerable poverty risks and inequality, with significant disparities across population groups and regions. Responding to these challenges, specific social policies were developed by the government, focused on increasing social inclusion, reducing poverty and social exclusion, promoting active aging and protection of elderly, reducing inequalities and promoting economic growth in order to reduce the migration phenomena of active population. In this regard, Romania reiterates its support for the full and effective implementation of Program of Action of the International Conference of Population and Development and its follow-up processes and outcomes. Based on the principle of the Program of Action of Cairo, a wide range of policies and programs bear witness to Romania's commitment to the population and development agenda. A significant number of legislative, institutional, and policy measures were taken to increase protection of economic, social, and cultural rights in Romania. In my intervention, I will highlight where Romania stands. First, the adoption of the National Strategy for Social Inclusion and Poverty Reduction aims at reduction the number of people at risk of poverty of social exclusion by at least 7% in 2027. Taking into account the analysis of evolution of poverty and social exclusion in the European and national context, the main risks and vulnerabilities in this area, and the priority and policy of both EU and national level, the strategy also set out 4 strategic objectives. Decent living for all based on the principle no one is left behind, social investment to promote cohesion, social protection throughout a person's life, improved administrative capacity for national policy coordination in line with European requirements. Second, the government approved the national strategy on social inclusion of homeless people and its action plan, documents that promote the fundamental rights of homeless people to social services and a life lived with dignity. Third, in the area of reforming social services for the elderly, the Labour Ministry main priority is the implementation of strategy on long-term care and active aging 2023 till 2030. Fourth, the national strategy on promoting equality and opportunities and treatment between women and men and preventing and combating domestic violence. Romanian policy also provides for the balancing of gender roles and for a fairer redistribution of care work between women and men, the full encouragement of men and family life, regulating, for example, in this respect, the paternity leave. I would like to add that this year Romania ratified International Labour Organization ILO Convention number 190 regarding violence and harassment. Although this significant progress have been made in Romania, there is, however, a lot of work to be done. In this context, we firmly committed to support the promotion, protection, and fulfillment of human rights and to the full and effective implementation of ICPD program of action. In the meantime, we support committed to sexual and reproductive health and rights in this context. Romania aims to be a country in which all citizens are provided with an equal opportunity to participate in society, where their basic needs are met and their differences respected. We consider that this session of CPD is an opportunity to advance our efforts to improve the lives of our people with equity and dignity, also having regard and linked to the Agenda 2030 on Sustainable Development Goals. Chairman, distinguished delegates, 30 years have passed since the conference dedicated to population and development, and whose action program in this is the object of our coordination, implementation, and monitoring. If organized initially with a frequency of 10 years, after Bucharest and Mexico City, Cairo followed, since the organization of which we are celebrating not 10 but 30 years. A moment to bring to the fore the necessity of organizing a new international conference to have into discussion the new realities, trends, and expectations in a much more globally connected world than in 1994. Thank you very much.
I thank the Secretary General, Minister of Labor and Social Solidarity of Romania. I now give the floor to Mr. Nasir Issa Kuala, Chairman of the National Population Commission of Nigeria. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Excellencies, delegates, good evening. Mr. Chair, on behalf of the Nigerian delegation, I congratulate you and members of your Bureau on your appointment and wish you success in the conduct of the session. Nigeria pledges its support to you and the Bureau throughout your tenure of work. Nigeria also commends the Secretary General for the comprehensive report. Mr. Chair, Nigeria's status of progress may not reflect realities at this time due to the postponement in the conduct of the population and housing census and the yet to be completed 2023 demographic and health survey process, which would have provided more current and up-to-date data and information on the shifts that may have occurred. However, Nigeria's population has more than doubled shortly before Cairo 1994 from 88.9 million in 1991 to the currently estimated population of 223 million in 2023. Nigeria is among the 8 countries that will contribute to world population growth between now and 2050. Our experience in fertility decline is unimpressive. However, total fertility rate declined slightly from 6.0 per woman in 1990 to 5.3 per woman in 2018, and the modern contraceptive prevalence rate improved insignificantly, from 10% in 2013 to 12% in 2018, amidst high unmet needs for family planning at 19% in 2018. Almost half of the population in Nigeria are females, out of which half of them are in reproductive ages of 15 to 49. This population segment are central in the implementation of the program of action of the ICPD Nigeria. 43% of the females get married by the age of 18, while 23% of the teenagers, that's age between 15 and 19, are already experiencing motherhood. Preventable maternal death is still one of the highest in the world. It declined from 545 per 100,000 live births in 2008 to 512 per 100,000 live births in 2018. Nigeria has made improvements in antenatal care that meets the World Health Organization's recommendations. That's from 47% in 2003 to 57% in 2018. Under-5 mortality reduced from 201 per 1,000 live births in 2003 to 132 per 1,000 live births in 2018. However, 37% of our under-5 are stunted currently due to malnutrition. The main challenge associated with meeting anticipated milestones is low investment in health and education, which the renewed hope agenda of the current administration is trying to reverse. Mr. Chair, overall, Nigeria's performance on the assessment is behind schedule for most of the thematic areas of the program of action due to disruption by the COVID-19 pandemic, incessant challenges of insecurity leading to sustained humanitarian crisis, high debt burden, and high rate of debt servicing. Mr. Chair, in order to fast-track progress towards accelerating efforts to improve our performance regarding the ICPD program of action, Nigeria has undertaken several actions in terms of policies and interventions, including, among others, it revised the National Population Policy twice, in 2004 and 2022. It also revised the National Health Policy twice, 2004 and 2016. Also revised the National Health Insurance Act in 2022 to support the realization of universal health coverage. Nigeria also implemented reproductive, maternal, newborn, child, adolescent health and nutrition strategy to improve performance towards the achievement of SDG 3. Nigeria also implements interventions to lift 100 million of its citizens out of poverty by 2030, focused on achieving SDG 1. Nigeria also implements the national policy on family planning, health, and HIV/AIDS education. Recently, the new government recruited and deployed 2,497 doctors, midwives, nurses, and community health extension workers in the last 6 months to bridge the manpower shortage in the health sector. Nigeria also implements free family planning services in all public health facilities since 2011. To accelerate progress and consolidate on gains so far recorded with the implementation of the ICPD program action in the past, in the post 2030 agenda, Nigeria also plans to invest in population, especially in the area of health, environment, and humanitarian interventions. Implement also education for all, particularly for girls up to tertiary level. Address gender equality, empowerment of women, multidimensional poverty, and gender-based violence and child marriages. Also plans to scale up interventions to accelerate family planning practices to ensure achieving zero unmet need for family planning and preventable maternal death by 2030. It also plans to improve investment in young people's health, education and training, skill acquisition, creation of decent jobs to accelerate altering our prevailing age structure. Also plans to prompt effective political will to mobilize adequate and sufficient domestic and international resources to finance development efforts to accelerate full implementation of the ICPD program of action in Nigeria. It also plans to introduce partnership, taking advantage of the North-South, South-South, and the triangular cooperation to leverage modern technology, innovations, and systems for institutional strengthening. Also plans to entrench good governance that respects rules of law and ascribes accountability and transparency. It also ensures effective monitoring and evaluation of post-ICPD 30 program of action through generating quality, reliable, and timely disaggregated data and prompt researches. They also plan to sustain the spirit of multilateralism and the best alternative for realizing commitment regarding the ICPD program of action and its unfinished agenda and the 2030 agenda. The Chair, distinguished delegates, as I conclude, Nigeria expresses its profound gratitude to the United Nations system, especially the United Nations Population Fund, for the sustained partnership in the implementation of the ICPD program of action over the 3 decades, and we look forward to furthering the partnership to transform the lives of our people for the emergence of a healthy and quality population for a peaceful and prosperous Nigeria. Thank you very much.
I thank the Chairman of the National Population Commission of Nigeria, and I also like to remind it again that I would like to appeal to distinguished delegates to strictly observe the agreed time limits. So I now give the floor to the President of the National Commission for Lebanese Women, Ms. Claudine Awon of Lebanon.
Thank you.
Floor is yours.
حضرة الرئيس، يلتزم لبنان بالتوصيات الصادرة قبل 30 عاماً عن المؤتمر الدولي للسكان والتنمية على الرغم من المصاعب، فخلال السنوات الأخيرة تتالت الأزمات في لبنان وتراكمت تداعياتها من تفاقم الأزمة المعيشية وانهيار العملة وتصاعد البطالة إلى تعثر عمل المؤسسات السياسية والاقتصادية، فتداعيات أزمة النزوح السوري وصولاً إلى تمدد الحرب في غزة إلى لبنان. في ظل هذه الظروف الحالكة وبعد قمة نيروبي المنعقدة في العام 2019 ركزت الحكومة اللبنانية بالتعاون مع المنظمات الدولية على العمل لتحقيق التقدم في مجالات الصحة الجنسية والإنجابية ومكافحة العنف ضد النساء والفتيات واعتماد سياسات اجتماعية وإنمائية دامجة للشباب. فبعد إقرار أحكام تشريعية جديدة تؤمن حماية أكبر لضحايا العنف الأسري ومنها شمول هذا القانون للعنف الاقتصادي والنفسي، تمت مأسسة الرصد الشهري لحالات العنف المبلغ عنها لدى قوى الأمن الداخلي عبر الخطوط الساخنة. كما اعتمدت وزارة الشؤون الاجتماعية وثيقة إجراءات تشغيلية وطنية موحدة لمواجهة العنف القائم على الدور الاجتماعي، وتم تنظيم تدريبات للعناصر الأمنية وللاختصاصيات والاختصاصيين في العمل الاجتماعي حول التعامل مع حالات العنف ضد النساء والفتيات، إضافة إلى نشر الوعي لدى التلامذة حول سبل مواجهته. كذلك بعد إقرار قانون يجرم التحرش الجنسي، تم إعداد سياسات نموذجية للقطاعين العام والخاص وللوقاية والاستجابة ومعاقبة التحرش الجنسي في إطار العمل، ونحن بصدد تنفيذ برنامج متكامل يستهدف القضاة والمحامين لتطبيق هذا القانون. كما تم اعتماد قانون يفرض المساواة بين الجنسين في الاستفادة من تقديمات صندوق الضمان الاجتماعي. وصدق لبنان على اتفاقية الأمم المتحدة لحقوق الأشخاص ذوي الإعاقة وعلى البروتوكول الاختياري المرافق لها. كذلك نحقق تقدما في الخدمات الصحية المتوفرة في مراكز الصحة الأولية والمستشفيات وعدد من المستوصفات الخاصة التي باتت تشمل خدمات رعاية الصحة الإنجابية والجنسية وخدمات الكشف المبكر عن سرطان الجهاز التناسلي. كما نعمل مع المنظمات الشبابية لنشر المعرفة بالطرق السلمية لحل النزاعات، وهذا موضوع سوف يشكل ركنا أساسيا من الخطة الوطنية الثانية لتطبيق قرار مجلس الأمن 1325 حول المرأة والسلام والأمن، التي كلفت الحكومة الهيئة الوطنية لشؤون المرأة بإعدادها. وهنا نشير إلى أنه تم اعتماد استراتيجية وطنية للمرأة لغاية العام 2030 أعدت بنهج تشاركي مع جميع مكونات المجتمع اللبناني من القطاعين العام والخاص، وخطة عمل أولى لتطبيقها، واستراتيجية للحماية الاجتماعية، واستراتيجيات وخطط عمل تتعلق بمكافحة الفقر والعنف ضد النساء والزواج المبكر وتطوير الخدمات الصحية ورعاية المسنين يتم التشبيك فيما بينها. لكن مع ازدياد تفاقم الوضع الاقتصادي وارتفاع معدلات البطالة التي طالت نسبة 47.1% من الشباب والشابات في العام 2022، تزداد صعوبة وضع الإجراءات التي تتضمنها هذه الاستراتيجيات والخطط موضع التنفيذ. وفي وقت ترتفع فيه نسبة الهجرة في صفوف الشباب اللبناني، تزداد تعقيداً الحلول التي يمكن التوصل إليها لمعضلة النازحين السوريين، إذ تزداد أعدادهم في كل يوم بفعل الولادات ومعظمها غير مصرح عنها، وبفعل استمرار التوافد بالطرق غير الشرعية، كما بسبب عدم التوافق الدولي على صيغة حل تعيدهم إلى بلدهم. ذلك إلى جانب نسبة الزواج المبكر في لبنان التي ارتفعت مع النزوح، وبالتالي فكل ما تقدم يساهم يوما بعد يوم في تغيير هوية بلداتنا وبالتالي وطننا. فكيف للدولة اللبنانية أن تسلك نهج التنمية السكانية في ظل حرب إقليمية تهدد حياة مواطناتها ومواطنيها وتنهش من مواردها الحيوية، وفي ظل أزمة نزوح طالت مدتها وباتت تهدد هيكلية بنيتها الاجتماعية؟ الحل في لبنان يحتاج أولاً إلى تضامن دولي يفرض إحلال السلام في المنطقة وعودة النازحين إلى بلدهم، ويتيح تالياً للدولة اللبنانية تكريس إمكاناتها لمعالجة القضايا الإنمائية، وأولها هجرة الشباب وإشراك النساء في الحياة السياسية والاقتصادية وتلبية حاجات مجتمع يزداد فيه التعمر السكاني. شكراً.
Shukran. I thank the President of the National Commission for Lebanese Women of Lebanon. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Patrick Zimpita, Principal Secretary, Ministry of Finance of Malawi. You have the floor.
Chairperson, thank you for giving me the floor. Chairperson, we cannot overemphasize the importance and relevance of this year's CPD session as we celebrate 30 years since the adoption of the International Conference on Population and Development Program of Action. This gathering, therefore, provides us with an opportunity to take stock of where we are. Chairperson, Malawi has made positive strides in implementing the ICPD agenda within the National Development Framework and the Sustainable Development Goals. At the Nairobi Summit, Malawi adopted the 10 commitments, and the action plan has been mainstreamed in the Malawi National Vision 2063 and in the third national population policy. Some of the notable achievements under the ICPD commitments include positive gains in education attainment and political representation of women. The gender parity ratio in secondary school is now at 0.96, with free primary education enrollment at 92%. Women's representation in parliament is at 23% from only 6% in 1993. The total fertility rate has reduced from 6.7 children per woman's lifetime in the early 1990s to 4 children per woman's lifetime in 2023. Maternal mortality rate has reduced from over 1,000 deaths per 100,000 live births in 1990 to 380 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2020. Under 5 mortality has reduced from 234 deaths per 1,000 live births in the 1990s to 42 deaths per 1,000 live births in 2022. Coverage of youth-friendly health services is at 85%. Malawi has achieved 10-fold increase in contraceptive prevalence rates from just 7% in 1990 to 65% among married women in 2022. Malawi is implementing a robust civil service registration system, and over 90% of Malawi adult population and about a third of all children have been registered and issued with legal unique digital identity numbers. Chairperson, despite these positive strides, there is still work that as member countries states we need to accomplish to meet the vision for humanity as set out in the program of action. As we plan to proceed with the program of action, we need critical reforms that will enable us to accelerate the achievements of the vision at a global, regional, and national levels. Some of the areas that require attention include identification of financial resources to support the implementation of population interventions, strengthening partnership at all levels with civil society and multinational organizations to leverage resources, strengthening population data systems and the use of population estimates and projections for informed policy development, building capacity for population units and councils to enable a well-coordinated population intervention. And as we move forward, we need to recommit to the principles of International Conference on Population and Development Program of Action, which emphasizes human rights, gender equality, and the empowerment of individuals and communities. We need to harness the transformative potential of technology, innovation, and the data to inform evidence-based policies and interventions that leave no one behind. In conclusion, I would like to reaffirm Malawi's commitment to accelerating the people-centered vision expressed in the ICPD. To demonstrate this commitment, Malawi will, for the first time, host the Union for Africa Population Studies from 20th to 24th April this year, which testifies to our commitment as we move forward with the ICPD. Therefore, on behalf of my delegation, I urge fellow member states and all relevant stakeholders to recognize the ICPD program of action as a critical success factor in the development and implementation of future programs. I thank you, Chairperson.
I thank the Principal Secretary, Ministry of Finance of Malawi. I now give the floor to Mr. Abdelkrim Mezian Belefhoukui, Secretary General du Ministère de la Santé et de la Protection Sociale of Morocco. You have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur le Président, Excellences, distingués délégués, honorables invités. Permettez-moi tout d'abord de féliciter la Présidence pour l'adoption de la déclaration marquant le 30e anniversaire de la Conférence internationale sur la population et le développement, sous le leadership du Honduras et des membres du bureau de la Commission. La 57e session de la Commission de la population et du développement consacrée à l'évaluation des 30 dernières années de mise en œuvre du programme d'action revêt une importance particulière, notamment au regard des changements démographiques et des défis mondiaux tels que le changement climatique, les pandémies et les conflits. Monsieur le Président, en cette année marquant ce 30e anniversaire de la conférence du Caire de 1994, il est de mon devoir de réaffirmer l'engagement indéfectible du Royaume du Maroc envers les principes et les objectifs de la CPD. Notre adhésion est entière, non seulement aux accords établis en 1994, mais aussi lors des conférences du Caire de 2013 et Nairobi 2019. Au cours des 3 décennies, mon pays, le Royaume du Maroc, a fait des avancées considérables en matière de santé et de développement social, avec une approche ancrée dans les droits humains portés au haut niveau par Sa Majesté le roi Mohamed VI, que Dieu l'assiste. Le droit à la santé, la promotion de l'égalité des femmes et la protection des groupes vulnérables sont désormais consacrés dans notre Constitution, guidant ainsi notre politique et les réformes législatives. À cet égard, et sur haute instruction royale, une instance a été chargée d'élaborer les propositions visant à la révision du Code de la famille qui mettra en avant davantage la promotion de la condition de la femme et de la protection de la famille. Sur le plan de la santé reproductive, nous avons pleinement priorisé la santé sexuelle, les droits en matière de procréation et les services associés. Ainsi, la mortalité maternelle a diminué de près de 80% entre 1992 et 2021. Nous avons aussi réussi à augmenter significativement la proportion d'accouchements assistés par du personnel qualifié de 31% en 1992 à 90% actuellement, tout en réduisant les disparités entre les zones urbaines et rurales. En matière de planification familiale, l'indice synthétique de fécondité a également diminué au fil des années, passant d'environ 3,3 enfants par femme en 1994 à 2,1 en 2021. Et ceci en partie grâce à l'amélioration de la situation des femmes, notamment en termes d'éducation et d'accès à la contraception volontaire, mais aussi au retard de l'âge moyen de mariage au sein de la société marocaine. L'âge moyen de mariage pour les femmes est passé de 17 ans en 1960 à 26 ans en 2018. Les tendances de la prévalence contraceptive montrent une augmentation de 41% en 1990 à 71% en 2020. Les besoins non satisfaits ont diminué, passant de 19 à 11%. En ce qui concerne le taux de natalité chez les adolescentes, il a diminué de 2/3 entre 2010 et 2021, ce qui représente un progrès très significatif. Pour ce qui est de l'élimination de la violence basée sur le genre et des pratiques sexistes et préjudiciables, cette dernière repose sur la mise en place, depuis 2008, d'unités spécialisées d'assistance sociale et médicale en faveur des femmes et des enfants victimes de violences et qui œuvrent aujourd'hui dans la carte d'une réforme législative de 2018 organisant la lutte contre la violence à l'égard des femmes sous toutes ses formes. Pour ce qui est de la jeunesse marocaine, elle bénéficie de stratégies et de plans d'action nationaux qui placent leur santé et leur éducation au cœur des priorités. Les initiatives incluent des programmes complets de santé sexuelle et reproductive intégrés dans le cadre de la stratégie nationale de la jeunesse 2015-2030. En matière de migration, le Royaume du Maroc dispose d'une stratégie nationale intégrée pour la migration et l'asile. Elle a été lancée en 2013. Cette stratégie représente notre engagement à intégrer la santé et les droits sociaux dans nos politiques migratoires. Cette approche est renforcée par des lois protégeant les droits des travailleurs migrants et leurs familles par des initiatives contre la traite des êtres humains. Elle est également renforcée par l'hébergement et le plaidoyer autour de 2 événements majeurs. Je citerai en premier le Pacte mondial pour la migration sûre, ordonnée et régulière de 2018, connu aussi par le Pacte de Marrakech, et deuxièmement, la 3e consultation mondiale sur la santé des réfugiés et des migrants qui s'est tenue en 2023 et qui a été couronnée par la déclaration de Rabat. Monsieur le Président, je finis mon intervention en réitérant l'engagement du Royaume du Maroc à poursuivre les réformes à renforcer la couverture sanitaire universelle et à consolider les acquis en santé et en développement social pour un avenir où chacun pourra atteindre son plein potentiel. Je vous remercie.
I thank the Secretary General of Minister of Health and Social Protection of Morocco. I now give the floor to Mr. Mohamed Sheikh, Director General of the National Council for Population Development of Kenya. You have the floor.
Chair, congratulations for your leadership of the 57th session of the Commission on Population and Development. Chair, Kenya welcomes the timely adoption of the political declaration for this year's session of the Commission. This attests to our collective commitment to accelerate the implementation of the Program of Action. This year marks the 30th anniversary since the 1994 Program of Action of the International Conference on Population and Development. The Kenya government continues to reaffirm its unwavering commitment to the principles and objectives outlined in the 1994 International Conference on Population and Development ICPD Program of Action, as well as the ICPD 25 Plus Nairobi Summit commitments. Chairperson, the government of Kenya has diligently put in place and implemented robust legal framework and policies aimed at fostering sustained economic growth within the context of population and sustainable development. This concerted effort has yielded notable progress and achievements. To mention just a few, Kenya's annual population growth rate reduced from 3.4% in 1979 to 2.2% in 2019. Improvement in the use of modern contraceptive methods among married women has increased from 27% in 1993 to 57% in 2022. The total fertility rate declined from 5.4 births per woman in 1993 to 3.4 births per woman in 2022. Increase in the proportion of births attended by skilled health personnel increased from 43% in 1993 to 89% in 2022, and a decline in teenage pregnancy also from 21% in 1993 to 15% in 2022. Infant mortality rate, IMR, and under 5 mortality rate has reduced from 90 and 61 to 41 and 32 respectively between 1989 and 2022. Maternal mortality ratio also declined from 590 per 100,000 live births to 355 per 100,000 live births. Notable reduction also in the incidence and the burden of communicable diseases, which has led to the improvement in the life expectancy, with male life expectancy rising from 58 years in 2009 to 61 years in 2019, as well as an increase for female from 61 years to 67 years over the same period. Chairperson, Kenya has experienced significant increase in urbanization and internal migration, as evidenced by the expansion of urban areas from 139 in 1989 to 372 in 2019. Correspondingly, the urban population has surged from 3.9 million to 14.8 million during the same period. However, this accelerated urbanization, primarily driven by rural-urban migration, has led to the proliferation of informal settlement. In the area of international migration and development, the government of Kenya is engaging in collaborative efforts with the International Organization of Migration, IOM, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, and other development partners to protect and assist refugees and displaced persons access basic needs like food, shelter, health, education, and social services. However, prevailing challenges persist, notably in the facilitation of refugees repatriation, the shortfall of funding for crucial services, the imperative task of addressing the underlying root causes, terrorism, human trafficking, and exploitation. In regard to the implementation of the gender equality, equity, and empowerment of women, notable strides have been made, exemplified by the increasing in the number of women in leadership and decision-making positions. In the area of population education and sustainable development, the government has invested in providing free primary education and free day secondary education, which has improved the gender parity in primary and secondary schools. As regard to the crisis situation and emergency preparedness, the government has enacted the National Disaster Risk Management Act of 2021 as well as establish the National Disaster Management Unit to mitigate and respond to disaster and natural hazards. Despite the progress made, sustained economic growth continues to be negatively impacted due to the increasing levels of poverty, inequality, unemployment, environmental degradation, and negative effect of climate change. Chair, Kenya is committed to strengthening the partnership with other countries through the North-South, South-South, and the triangular collaboration, and we welcome the action-oriented outcome which will build up to the summit of the future, Pact for the Future, and the 2025 World Social Summit. I thank you, Chair.
I thank the Director General of the National Council for Population Development of Kenya. And we have just heard the last speaker in the general discussion for this afternoon. Distinguished delegates, the Commission has thus concluded its program of work for this meeting. The Commission will reconvene tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. in this conference room to hold a multi-stakeholder panel on the special theme on the session, and followed by an interactive debate under item 3B. Thereafter, the Commission will resume the general discussion under agenda item 3 and its sub-item A and B. The meeting is adjourned.